You get the best. You're simply the best.
Best match ever.
We the best.
I just had an out-of-body experience. The biggest match in pro wrestling history. Oh my God! This is great. This is awesome. Mamma mia!
I'm taking the main event of Tokyo Dome, and I'm going to take everything that you treasure.
오, 이게 시작합니다. 신기한 프로레슬러 세운된 가게에 신기한 프로레슬러의 가능합니다.
Hello.
Hello.
Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman for Poison Rana, the Patreon. And this is a little ditty we like to call Best
Match
Ever. As you heard off the top, yes. But maybe today, this show is a GME, a greatest match ever, according to some. And we'll find out if it holds up to that reputation, to that name, because today we're talking about Omega v. Okada, one of the biggest rivalries in wrestling history, at least modern wrestling. Hey, fuck it, wrestling history. We ball. Let's go.
I mean, I think these matches are so important for modern wrestling. I think without these matches, as much as Chris Jericho would like to take credit, and I think it's fair. There's stuff to be said about that, of Jericho bringing a Western audience to New Japan. But would Jericho have been inspired to go to New Japan and face Kenny Omega if it was not for the buzz these matches were getting? And I don't think so. It certainly got my attention. I had started like diving into New Japan a little bit before this. I'm thinking I think Ibushi Nakamura, which would have been what Naito Okada 1 was the first WrestleKingdom. So I think that's 8 or 9. But this was certainly where my interest in all wrestling outside of WWE was super heightened. And yeah, just 4 absolute instant classics we're about to talk about, which is building up to the 5th one. And if you are listening to this a few months from now, we may have added a little tag on after seeing the 5th match. But yeah, super important matches in the world of pro wrestling. And it's crazy that I don't think we've ever actually talked about any of them.
Yeah, what's funny is when we got together, we started doing NXT for post wrestling and everything. But our goal was, hey, let's start, talking about other stuff in wrestling. We love all the other stuff going on. And around this time, I think NXT was the real hot product for WWE, but WWE itself was kind of dragging on. It wasn't necessarily that entertaining, with bits and pieces here and there, I'm sure. But it definitely was an idea when we started like our Patreon. This show, Best Match Ever, right away we're like, okay, well, we could do like Flair Steamboat, which I think we did pretty early on. We could do a specific playlist of a wrestler's greatest hits, or a rivalry, Stone Cold and The Rock, as we did. But we figured these were still somewhat recent, so that we would kind of put it on hold on the shelf for a rainy day. And then fast forward to AEW announcing All in Texas, Omega v Okada one last time, the 5th and final encounter. And a few fernettes at the bar, I was like, yo, let's just go. And we're going. So it got us even more hyped. And we thought, why not look back at these classic matches that have such high praise from many, many people, and go through these matches and do what we do best and nerd out over some pro wrestling. So let's gush over some graps.
Yeah, I think when we started the show, where the Patreon was 2019, September 2019, if I recall. Yeah. So these matches were only a year or so old. And I think now we're 7-8 years removed from these matches. Now is the right time to go back and look at it, because wrestling has moved on. Wrestling has learned from these matches and developed from this. And sometimes you go back and you go, not as good as I remember. And I think had we have done it early on in the Patreon, it wouldn't have had. I don't think it would have had the same weight as us doing it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Enough time has passed now that doing the match for the fifth, again, singles match, doing the fifth one in a long time is like refreshing. And obviously there's so much intrigue of like, can it match the power of the original, essentially, right? Like that kind of thing. We've seen the sequels in this case may be superior to the original that we might get into here, because we are always open to hearing your arguments if you ever disagree or agree, because what we do on the show is we go through, we review the matches, and we give it our ratings, if you will, and we kind of decide which one is the best. And a lot of people consider this series up there as one of the best in wrestling, and I would totally be one of those people. I said, like, around the time that this first one happened, I was aware of New Japan. I was checking out some stuff regularly. I was going to the Ring of Honor New Japan. I was watching a lot of that stuff. Again, I was at this point kind of seeking other stuff other than WWE, but I would say it was this match, the Kenny Omega Okada match, WrestleKingdom 11, that was like, it's not tape trading because it's like the internet days. What year is this? 2017, right? January. Yeah. It's like everyone who's a wrestling fan or a Lapsed fan was like, hey, have you seen this match? Hey, have you heard about this match? Have you heard? The word of mouth was like spreading, and not just like podcasts, but like just everyone was talking about this thing. So I remember getting together some friends like, hey, before we can get spoiled any further, let's just like watch this match. And we all got together, we burned one and put it on, and everyone was like, what? I think there were some non-wrestling friends there as well, and everyone was just blown away. Like, wait, is this WWE? What is this? I was like, wow, this was incredible. And then it became like the album you recommend to your friends, like, hey, did you see this? It just became this like viral sensation almost, and it was not WWE, which just is shocking.
The first match especially was, I remember, like, as I said, I had got into WrestleKingdom. I can't say I was necessarily watching all the other shows, all the other pay-per-views or G1 or anything, but I'd done WrestleKingdom for 2 or 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
And I just remember hearing the buzz, like, you've got to watch this match. You've got to watch this match. And me working that day, so trying to avoid spoilers, but also knowing I wanted to watch the rest of the show, so wasn't necessarily skipping right ahead to the main event, and gradually working my way through and trying to remain spoiler-free going into this. But so often it's difficult, like movies, TV shows, music, whatever. When people hype it up too much, you can often be a little let down, like come out of it being like, yeah, it was good, but like I don't know if I'd say it's the greatest match of all time or whatever. But I think definitely lived up to expectation. And right as the bell rang at the end of the first match, people are going, okay, when is the rematch? When are we getting this again? And I think that happened every time these two fought. You then have the draw, and obviously a draw sets up for a rematch. You then have the G1 match where it's almost like I've heard people call this a trilogy, and no, it's a quadrant or however.
Well, what's it going to be with a fifth one then?
Quinn, is that Quinn or Penn?
Okay, nice.
Pentology.
Penn and Teller.
But I think the G1, it's like almost a forgotten one, because it's like, does it really count?
Is it canon?
It's in a tournament, like it's got the time limit, similar to when we were doing our Misawa Kawada, where you've got the one big win over Kawada, but it was a day when they'd had like multiple matches and Misawa had just come off a match, and it's like, well, does that one count? And I feel that's the G1 in this case, but and then a very definitive final 2 out of 3 falls match. And then I think a lot of people assumed that this would be the match at Madison Square Garden.
Absolutely.
It's a huge match. You've done the story in Japan. Now it's the story to take it stateside. And I think MSG sold off the back of Jay White and Matt Taven. No, but I'm pretty sure a lot of fans, us included, were thinking, they've got to do Kenny Okada. The Bucks are going to be on the show as well. And then it was around then that AEW was being formed. So that never came to be. We saw Okada win the IWGP title against Jay White on that show. Matt Taven winning the ROH title in a ladder match. Someone knocked out front row via ladder.
Yes.
Us marking out over Naito
On the camera, on screen.
dropping each other on their heads. Yeah,
Yep.
like still a fun show. But after that, the kind of hush went down a little bit. And is this a match we're going to see? And then we've had the whole Forbidden Door stuff. And then finally with Okada signing to AEW, it's the right time to do it and get this match in a stadium in North America. And let's see how it looks 7 years on.
Like, it totally was supposed to be Okada and Omega. And it's kind of a shame whether it was someone's decision. I don't necessarily know if he was allowed to do the show at this point, considering he's gone on to work for both, again, companies simultaneously a little bit recently. It's kind of strange. Like, that main event of MSG was really good, Jay White and Okada, but it could have been Omega Okada 5. And that's what sold the show, sold out pretty quickly, considering people thought that's what it was going to be.
I do feel kind of bad for Jay at that time as well, because he was being positioned as a Kenny Omega replacement and almost like a clone. And I think these years removed, I think he's grown into more of his own person, and he's not everyone's cup of tea. I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites, but I respect some stuff he does. But really tough position there, I think, going into Madison Square Garden against the Rainmaker, and people somewhat being like, you're Timu Omega in this match.
And again, I like Jay White too, but not as much as like first time seeing Omega Okada, watching, like I said, with my friends. It was like first time listening to the Beatles. It was like first time. It was like, wait, what? Maybe like first time listening to like Nirvana, or first time listening to something that was so different and it wasn't part of WWE. I was like, how could I get so hyped? I remember like rewatching it pretty soon after, showing more friends, and then getting so like dialed in on New Japan. And then look, I went to the next Wrestle Kingdom, and so did a lot more people. And that's when so many people jumped on. Of course, you said you had Jericho jumping in there, which also got a lot more attention from the North American audience. But it's like whenever like an episode of Buffy or like The Walking Dead, they do this huge, crazy episode. The ratings could have been good, decent, low, but the next week shows how good the match it was before, or sorry, the episode before, because it had so many people like, holy shit. So I'd say there was a lot more eyes after this match. It got so much attention from like your whether Sports Illustrated or ESPNs and stuff, and it was just so crazy. Like Ospreay, Ricochet got that shine too, but real wrestlers, Stone Cold Steve Austin, always for a while promoting. This was back before he kind of came back.
Kid Okada, what? Right?
He
he's
kept
good
saying,
looking kid.
he kept saying like Omega's going to be the biggest thing in WWE, and then Jim Ross, same thing, was like, yeah, this guy, as soon as he signs, like he's got to sign. So many, like Eric Bishop, like so many people in wrestling were like, wow, did you watch this match? Holy shit, I didn't know wrestling could be like that. It just, I don't know, it opened up a whole Pandora's box for me personally as a wrestling fan. I'd almost like felt like maybe wrestling's just not like hitting that anymore. And I don't know, something about this like really got me into like New Japan. I don't necessarily follow as much right now currently, but around this time you had Okada, your Ishii, Omega, Ospreay was just coming up on the undercard as well. Like around this time was a really special time, and this match really like set it off for a lot of people, I'd say, including myself.
I'd say whether Triple H admits it or not, I would put these matches in influencing NXT at the time. Like, sure, it's the I think 2018 is Andrade versus Gargano, which I believe, and fact check me if I'm wrong, I believe up to that point that's the longest NXT main event, which isn't like a multi-man war games or something like that. Yeah. And they definitely stepped forwards in 2018 in delivering kind of epics, the matches pushing over 30 minutes and having those huge near falls and those big takeover style matches, which I think are kind of influenced by these matches here. And then we push more into, I'd say 2019, where maybe this is starting to wear a little thin, because then I think you're getting people going, oh, to be a good match, we have to go long. And it misses some of the stuff. And I think even Okada's guilty of this. Watching these matches back, the thing in my notes for all of them is the pacing. The pacing is so good. Like, they start at such a high pace. And I think if you look at Okada's run after this, you start seeing a whole lot doesn't happen in the first 20 minutes. And then he's got a great closing 20.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that's a complaint about any of these matches.
It's funny because, like, I have watched Okada at this point. I had watched some of the WrestleKingdom, the Tanahashi matches and so forth. And I thought he was pretty good. The only thing was, him and Tanahashi, they would do these long, Kings Road, Broadway style matches, like going, 40 plus minutes, like we're going to go here. But I was like, oh yeah, he's good. He's great and awesome. But then Kenny Omega kind of being inserted, he had a hell of a year previously with I'd say the Naito G1 match is maybe also like a precursor to this, because that's also what maybe put him on the map for some people. Because I was always aware of Kenny Omega. I had watched him in Ring of Honor, some bits and pieces, and I knew he was once signed to OVW, WWE, and all that. But I didn't necessarily fall in love with the Street Fighter guy. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until the Bullet Club. Watching some of his New Japan stuff from before, he was pretty good. But it wasn't until the Bullet Club where I was like, oh, this guy's sick with the Terminator glasses, all that stuff. But it wasn't until the Naito match and then this match where I'm like, holy, this guy's like incrediable. So the pairing between Okada and Omega, I don't know, the chemistry. Like Okada, I remember him in TNA with the Green Lantern, not Green Lantern, Green Hornet. Oh man, like I watched some of that. I was like, brutal. I couldn't believe it was the same guy. And
that damaged the relationship between New Japan and TNA for years and years, because they sent him to TNA. I believe the story is they were telling them, we are gonna try and push this guy as our new ace. Like this, we see a lot in this guy. Treat him with care. You had the Bucks there, who there's stories in the Bucks book about standing up to management, because Okada comes up to them and goes, hey, like they're wanting me to bleed on this show. I don't really do that. I haven't really bladed before, and I don't want to do that. And it was the Bucks that kind of stood up to the company and were like, no, like he's not doing that. And so that's where the friendship between the Bucks and Okada really formed. We always think of the Bucks and Kenny, but I think when Okada joined AEW and joined the Bucks, you go, actually, they are very close as well. But yeah, it completely damaged the relationship with TNA and New Japan, because they were like, can you imagine if you sent, like, I don't know, Roman Reigns, you're gonna do a little run in Europe or whatever for this company, and they just dress him up as Banana Man or something like that. It would be like, what?
Well, it's also like this character, like it wasn't great, and it's kind of shocking to see like that guy was once that gimmick in TNA, and then look where he goes on to become what some would say is one of the best wrestlers to ever do it. And the same with Kenny Omega. Like I said, I'm watching this guy in Ring of Honor sometimes do a Hadouken, PWG stuff that again, finding stuff online, and then seeing any of the stuff from WWE. And he was like, nah, this isn't for me. And he chose to leave and go do his own path. And it's another test to some people like, hey, kind of bank on yourself and believe in yourself. Cause he definitely didn't want to just go by he at that point money, but I'm sure, AEW has changed a lot in the world of money and wrestling outside of WWE, but I know the popularity has spiked like immensely around this time of people finding your Okadas, your Omegas, your Young Bucks. A lot of the people who showed up in AEW, but that's when your indie wrestling got super hot as well, because people were just maybe tired of what was going on with like main WWE stuff. But again, this inspired a lot of people. I think a lot of wrestlers and obviously Dave Meltzer. This is the one that maybe that's why people got so attached. It broke the scale, the 6-star rating from Meltzer, which everyone was totally okay with. No one batted an eye and bickered at all about it.
And to be fair to Dave, he had rated matches above 5 stars before these ones. Those All Japan matches in the tag matches in early 90s.
The Ric Flair Steamboat hidden tape.
Hidden tape. Oh, that was 9 stars, right?
We watched it. We reviewed it. It was pretty good, but I don't know, 6 stars. Yeah.
I think we've got to remain consistent and stick to a 5-star scale on this. Right. I think tipping our hand here, but like I think we know where we're going for all of these, most likely.
Yes.
But having a look at what was going on sort of leading up to this, if we go back to WrestleKingdom 10, the year prior in 2016, you've got Okada in the main event defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. You've got that classic match between Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. And way, way further down the card, you have Kushida defeating Kenny Omega for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the next night on New Year's Dash where Kenny kicks AJ out the group and assumes leadership. And then AJ shows up in WWE like 2 weeks later at the Royal Rumble. But it's quite like seeing like the rise of Kenny, or the rise of the Terminator, if you will, from January 2016 to January 2017 is crazy. Like he's still like, I remember in that match with Kushida, he's doing the goofy stuff with the broom, isn't he? He's still like
the cleaner. Yeah.
He's the cleaner. He's got like more of the Bret Hart look with the leather jacket and the sunglasses, which he kind of maintains, but he does evolve. He beefs up a lot. I mean, you see it in these 4 matches, especially the last Dominion match, kind of the size he packs on.
He's yoked. Yeah.
And then, assumes leadership of the Bullet Club, and then has a hell of a G1, being the first Gaijin, I believe, to win the G1. He was in Block B, having wins over Evil, Honma, Nagata, Naito, Nakajima, and Toriyano.
That Naito match. That Naito match, man. Like that's another all-time classic. I think it's the finals, right? It's so good.
No, it's
not the finals.
I think the finals Goto. No, yeah, it's Goto in the final. And
maybe I'm thinking of the year after that. Maybe
he's got a couple of Naito G1 matches.
Yeah,
I think it's the following year he's got that really well remembered one.
Yeah.
But then losses to Michael Elgin, Shibata, and Yoshihashi were kind of the spoilers on that one. Goto going over Farley, Ishii, Makabe, Marufuji, Tenzan, and Tonga, and losing to Tanahashi, Sanada, Okada. So that was the final in a pretty great G1 Climax main event. And so now Kenny is on his way to Wrestle Kingdom. He's facing Okada is this Okada's 4th reign? I think they say
it's a long reign already, and he's held it a few times already at this point. But he's cemented as the guy, like
he's cemented as the guy,
the one at this point right now. Like Okada is the one leading New Japan, and I think having AJ come in was such a big deal that they were like, "Yep, we're giving." Like they gave the title to him pretty quickly, right? Like pretty fast. And then of course, as he tells them, "Hey, I'm leaving," I'm sure they were like, "Shit," and had to pivot somewhere. The story with Kenny was right there. He was rising the ranks and showing some spunk. So I'm sure they took a chance and went, "Okay, let's push with this guy." And I'm sure he proved himself, especially if we're talking about that G1 and everything. Like that he slowly, like, what if AJ stayed? Would we have ever had this big push for Kenny?
It's not just AJ, is it? This is the mass exodus. You've lost AJ, but you've lost Nakamura, and
of course,
and God forbid you've lost Gallows and Anderson as well.
Yeah.
So I think Kenny made the most sense. He does speak Japanese as well. I think New Japan, any company really wants that global expansion, and you want, like, they're still looking to try and find who is our guy, our like Westerner that we're going to push in New Japan right now. But they needed that guy, right? And I think Kenny, sort of especially putting on these good matches, building up the size a little bit, Bullet Club lore being super over. Like Bullet Club, it was, I'd say, more this era than like Finn Balor era, where you're really seeing the t-shirts everywhere and that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I think it was a no-brainer, but it is kind of like, you know, the old question we have, if Bret Hart stuck around, with Steve Austin of being Stone Cold, you know, it is that kind of thing. If AJ and Nakamura were still around, if, you know, Ibushi is doing Ibushi things at this time, he's working matches for the company, but he's refusing to put pen to paper. So that's why we have him as like Black Tiger Mask or stuff like that, like just weird opening matches or pre-show matches where you go, there's probably more you could do with this Ibushi guy.
It's
Imagine
a big, yeah.
if Ibushi, Nakamura, and AJ was still around, maybe Kenny wouldn't have risen or as quickly as he did.
Absolutely. I think obviously there would have been a big breakout moment where it would have, like, all it takes is one match, right? We see that with many of your favorite, think of your favorite wrestlers. It's one match where you get hooked, right? And I'd say this is the one for me instantly where I was like, oh my God. I think watching this back today, Kevin Kelly, and you know what? I'll just give him his flowers and I'll just be nice. And I know we're recording this in June 2025, and I don't know if there's lawsuits with him and who, whatnot, but he was fine when he was on commentary. Some of the partners he had, maybe not so much, but he says during this match, and maybe it was from the first time watching it, he was like losing his mind at some of the crazy sequences, or maybe after it ended, and he's like, you got to witness this. You got to see what like New Japan WrestleKingdom. And I was like, fuck, I do. I have to go to this. Like, this is incredible. This is how did something make me love pro wrestling this much again? It made me feel like a little kid watching this match. So it has like some special, like, oh man, this is the one that got me really addicted to like this. I would go and chase the lore. You're talking about Ibushi, the big angle with, what was it? AJ Styles, right? Ibushi versus AJ, where Kenny gets up on the apron and distracts Ibushi, costing him the IWGP title. And that's what leads all the way through to eventual, like, the big reunion stuff. So there's some crazy lore in a show that like Westerners were, going over and watching somehow. The New Japan World wasn't like it was now. But
well, I was going to say, I think New Japan World helped with the expansion of the company a lot as well, because you're a wrestling fan and you hear this buzz about these matches, and how can I watch it? Well, you could just subscribe. It's $9.99. Fuck it, whatever. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this show. It's best quality. I've got English commentary as well. I can watch it. And then you accidentally let things playing on, and you go, oh well, it's the G1 now. I might as well hold it for that.
Because they used to have, like, they've had it for 10 years now, like, right?
It
like
was December 2014 it was launched, and think before that you had to pay for like individual G1 shows alone. Like, think how expensive it got if you wanted to watch these things.
And I worked at Fight Network for a few years, and we would air some of the Access shows. That's right. Another way. That was definitely around this era and a little after New Japan World had launched, but it was a good way for people to find these matches. A lot of people were like, oh, what's this? Okada Tanahashi matches or certain matches. People would be hooked instantly because it was something that was completely not WWE. So now in the world of the internet, like, having your own subscription service is something other indie feds have it. We go to independent wrestling shows in the city. They all film it. They all stream it live. I think CMLL needs to maybe sort their stuff out in 2025, and it could really help them expand because everyone's got the internet and VPNs. And if wrestling fans are as nerdy as we are and want to seek it out, they will, and they'll find a way to watch it. And sometimes they'll even give you your money. So,
I mean, you can see here the growth, and I would put a lot of it down to these matches. There are other factors going on as well. Yeah. But as of May 2017, so that's between the first match between these two and the Dominion match, which is in June, I believe. New Japan World had 50,000 subscribers, with 10,000 subscribers outside of Japan. By July of 2018, so think then you've had the Jericho match, and you've had the final 2 out 3 falls match between these two. Subscription numbers had risen to 100,000 in total, with 40,000 subscribers outside of Japan. So times 4 in just a year. And I think you've got to give some of the credit, a lot of the credit, to these two.
That's just what I said. Okay, so I like picture an episode of Breaking Bad where like so-and-so dies. The next episode, everyone wanted to tune in at the beginning of the episode. That's exactly what I mean, because I went to the WrestleKingdom with Jericho and Omega, and that was like almost double the amount of people, if not 10 to 20 more thousand people than the year before Omega and Okada. So like, there's another, like, that was a shifting thing. And you know what? I remember standing outside the hub bad mouthing Jay White's match with Tanahashi as he walked by, and then I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean for you to hear that. But I met all these other people from Australia, New Zealand, and other places who were like, oh man, I never watched New Japan, but I watched that match last year, and I had to come skip and hop over here. It was a pretty influential match series, and that shows. I didn't know about that with the numbers of New Japan World, and I didn't even factor that in, but that proves to show, like any good movie episode, it's going to get people's attention one way or another. But I remember this was the like, hey, do you have a Daily Motion link for Omega Okada? Hey, do you have a link for that was tape trading almost, like in the weird internet world.
I mean, we've sat down. I remember when we were living together at the basement.
Yeah.
We through a series of a couple of weeks showed our friend Trav all 4 of these matches.
Yeah.
We were like, we want to rewatch them. You should really watch it. He started getting into like wrestling outside of WWE. Like, you should probably watch what are considered by some as the greatest matches of all time. Well, shall we dive into it?
Absolutely. Let's talk about it. Omega Okada, the New Japan rivalry that may or may not have changed professional wrestling.
So let's go to the first match. It is WrestleKingdom 11 in the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, January 4th, 2017. For the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It's Kazuchika Okada defending his title against Kenny Omega. Kenny comes out with his Terminator entrance. They do the like spoof video beforehand where he's naked in the rain and some guys are trying to put cigarettes out on him, and he then comes out to the ring. I gotta love Kenny. Sometimes he's too goofy for his own good.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he looked goofy as hell. It's
just the mask. It's the mask that's goofy. Like, he could have just worn the leather jacket, but he's Kenny, so he's got to nerd out.
He's doing his like bug wide eyes as well, and it's just like, we're gonna get into a great match. But off the top, I remember this at the time being like, really, this guy?
Well, it's okay. Next year at Wrestle Kingdom, he dresses up as a Sphinx or something. Final Fantasy. I don't know what that is.
He had one Wrestle King. I think it's the Jericho match where he's got like half of the gear made, right? And he said because Kenny and Jericho then had the podcast where they break down the match, essentially like director's commentary, and they're talking about how there was a spot in the match they wanted to do that was taken
Osprey.
in that triple threat match earlier.
Yeah,
4-way or whatever it was.
No, triple threat. Yeah.
Yes, triple threat. Sure.
Marty's dead. Remember that.
And but yeah, I remember him saying like, I had this idea. I was pushing it with the company for a while. They were late to it, and then I've got like half a gun. I'm coming out.
I feel like that was the Tanahashi one too. He had like or maybe because it's a one winged angel or something. But I love the Terminator video itself because he's the guy who's like the actor who's like yelling in his face when he's like, give me your clothes. Like Arnold in Terminator. The guy's wearing an Okada shirt.
Yes.
I thought that was a nice touch. So I liked the intro video, but my one gripe was always this mask that looked kind of cheesy. But was it worse or better than when Triple H did the Terminator? Because both guys, like, I love the Terminator too, but like both entrances didn't necessarily look great to me.
I mean, Triple H actually had Arnie.
He had Arnie in it. Yeah. But yeah,
I don't know. I was at that one. I've got a slight soft spot for it.
Sure.
What I like with that one is the not necessarily what he's wearing, like the
plastic robots,
the armor. But I liked when it was the Terminator was like tracking through the whole roster and then focuses in on Sting. I thought that was kind of cool.
Like, I like this one. I like the one that we'll get to later. That's also like a Terminator and like callback to a movie and stuff. But I like the video package as well. Like, again, I haven't gone back and rewatched these in quite a few years, so it was pretty refreshing. But the quote, the Japanese translation is a battle for the future, talking about like changing the world of pro wrestling and everything. And like, I kind of think that's kind of funny considering the story is like, the battle for the future of New Japan, but really be the battle of what's to come with the world of wrestling and everything. So unfortunately, I watched this with Kevin Kelly and Steve Corino, and God bless Steve Corino. Is it Steve Corino on this?
It is, yeah.
He's not great on it. I love Steve Corino,
but these guys were doing Ring of Honor not too long before this, right?
Yeah. There is a Ring of Honor match on this show, right?
Kyle and
Kyle, yeah.
Kyle and I was at that match. I was at the
the other
one where
one,
Kyle won the
good
title.
one. So like, I did watch in English all these matches to get that out of the open, but I do like Kevin Kelly, but I didn't necessarily like Steve Corino on this call, whereas I do like Don Callis on the call for the other ones.
I think Kevin Kelly, I'm not entirely sure exactly when he joined New Japan, but I'm pretty sure the year before. Wasn't that JR? Wasn't that like JR Matt Striker on the call for that?
Yeah, it should have been John Pollock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, but Kevin Kelly was pretty new, I think, to New Japan at this time. And then Steve Corino, I thought was awful. Just so, so lethargic with his calls. And
he kept saying things that were wrong and then apologizing and saying, kept going off about don't attack me on Twitter and a lot of that, like while the match was like happening. I was like, man, you're kind of taken away from it. But I don't think I think the first time when this video was going around of the original match that I remember watching with people and trying not to get spoiled, I had watched it with friends in the original Japanese, and it probably wasn't until watching a few more times after that I had watched it with the English. But I don't mind Kevin Kelly. But also this crowd is really hype here. Tokyo Dome is an amazing venue, and there's a lot of people, and they're really loud for both of these guys. You can tell that Kenny has been kind of a fan favorite in the ranks, whether you were following him in DDT or not. But like Okada obviously being the one ace, but Kenny has his fans as well. You hear in this crowd. So, and Japanese crowds, they're always known for being quiet and everything. Like,
no, you're just not over, bro.
Yeah, you're just
captivating them.
Yeah, you're just not that good. Because I went into Wrestle Kingdom kind of thinking like, everyone's gonna be quiet, and like, nah, people, Kenny and Okada, like they go kind of ham for their people. So this is a banger.
I will say this when I think of the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, it is this gear. It is the red, the purple, the gold, the short trunks, the long robe. This is the Okada's gone through a few different looks. I really hope just two requests for Kenny Okada 5, and that is Kenny, drop all your dog shit themes. I don't care what other people say. Devil's Cry, dog shit. Your new fancy Final Fantasy football, whatever it is, dog shit. Battle Cry or nothing.
Okada, I like his New Japan theme though. I like his New Japan theme.
It's not here. It's not as hype. It's fine. It just, I don't know. To me, it still sounds like video game loading screen music. I prefer it to his newer one.
Yes. No, I would say that I like his New Japan theme, but I much prefer Battle Cry. That is way more of a hype up song. I'm not a fan of the Final Fantasy one. Like, it's a cool song, whatever, but it's wrestling. You want to get hyped up. I say the same about other wrestlers who use kind of more like slower themes. Like, why? You need to this is a fighting thing. Like, what fighter would come out? You need to be amped up essentially. I do like Okada's gear, and I think Kenny's gear as well as here, minus the mask, of course, in the entrance, but the Terminator gear with the like one winged skull angel. I'm currently, it's hot as balls. I'm currently wearing Bret Hart chalk line, and all I'm saying is someone's got to create Okada shorts and Kenny Omega shorts, and like you'll be printing I'll give you so much money because I need Kenny shorts for sure.
That's my second request. Okada, I don't want to see you wearing these black trunks and boots you've been wearing recently. I want the purple wrist tape, the red wrist tape.
Right.
The red,
Rainmaker.
gold, and purple, the robe. Come on, Okada.
Yeah.
Find that aura again. Bring it back.
You know what he needs to bring back is the balloons.
Sure. Yeah. He can come in a hot air balloon into the Globe Life field. So yeah, Okada, big entrance. He's out there with Gato, and the Bucks are in the corner of Kenny Omega. The pace of this match right away just starts so quick. Omega finds one of Okada's like dollar bills and like crunches it in his hand. Like, I'm gonna
great visual,
crunch you here. Very even kind of grappling early on. Commentary are letting us know this is Okada's second defense of his fourth reign. Okada goes for the top rope drop kick early, but Kenny blocks it. Kenny goes for the one-winged angel early, but that is also blocked. There's a Rainmaker attempt, and Kenny just spits in Okada's eye. Gross. Kenny's then on the outside teasing a suplex onto the guardrail, but Okada blocks it, drapes Kenny on the guardrail, and delivers a DDT to the floor. And then Okada brings out one of the New Japan tables. And, well, if you've watched New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know what I mean by a Japanese table. I.e., this is just a table we're going to use here, and it's probably going to hurt.
I don't know. New Japan, it goes two ways. It's like, hey, we're just going to actually use a table, these like small wooden tables, or actually some guys are complaining that it hurts. Let's just make them out of cardboard. Yeah. There's like, they only go one of two ways. They're actually really hurting the person, or they look really shitty, so they clear them pretty quickly. But yeah, this one looked like it hurt.
There's then a Kotaro Crusher attempt from Kenny. Okada with the Senton Atomico. Kenny hits the Kotaro Crusher for a 2 and then delivers a huge Terminator dive to the floor. Looks awesome. He follows up with this missile dropkick to the back of Okada's head. And this is something that will recur throughout these matches, and this one in particular looked so deadly. Like, I don't know how you quote unquote fake this.
Yeah, this is the Dragon Ball Z drop kick. The famous like pose is specifically he does for like Dragon Ball Z, but this one he nails Okada in the back of the head. Very similar to the Ishii G1 one where he nails him in the head, but this one looked like very deadly. But the crowd getting really hyped for the Terminator dive as well. Picture perfect move where he just like goes flying. But yeah, the crowd are like cheering. Basically, if you could say both these guys in Japanese, this crowd would be doing it. Yeah,
I feel Kenny is kind of still a heel at this point,
but
he's definitely winning fans. And you hear it as these 4 matches go on. The Kenny chants get louder and louder.
For sure.
Okada just gets his hand on the rope after this drop kick and then fights back with a beautiful looking vertical suplex. And then Okada hits his elbow in the corner, followed by the DDT, running European uppercut to knock down Omega, and then hits his classic neck breaker across the knee, goes up top, goes the elbow drop, but Kenny gets his knees up, but it kind of hurts Kenny too. Kenny follows up with a baseball slide, which sends Okada over the guardrail to the outside, and then Kenny is teasing this moonsault, the golden triangle. He jumps to the top rope and leaps with this beautiful picture-perfect moonsault over the guardrail into the crowd, taking out Okada. This looked incredible.
So he jumps, and in the like 0. something seconds you have in a second to spin your body around, all while bouncing simultaneously off this top rope. Like, I don't know how this guy did this. This is one of the craziest spots ever. Like, I know this is one of Ibushi's moves, right? But like, holy shit. It looks like it doesn't even take anything to do it. It's just like, oh, he floats like it's not real. It's crazy how he flies over the guardrail. And I could be wrong, but it's almost, is it Matt Jackson? Like, I think saves Kenny from like eating the guardrail.
It's like a little like magic trick, sleight of hand, like look over here while I'm doing this here, because I never noticed it. I think it's Nick actually. I never noticed him just pulling the guardrail back as far as it can possibly go, because your eyes are just watching Kenny hit this dive, and it's obviously still incredibly impressive, but the distance is maybe shortened a little bit by Nick Jackson here. This is just spectacular.
What? Yeah, it is. I don't know how people can do this kind of stuff. And like, to hear the stories later, years later, he would admit to having like issues with vertigo and all this stuff. I'm like, what? Like, how? I can't even imagine in my head of how you did this, but what an insane spot.
Kenny then pulls out, gets the table that Okada pulled out, puts it on top of Okada, runs off the apron with a double stomp to the abdomen.
Ouch.
This will also recur throughout these matches. Okada comes back with 2 power bombs, but can't put Omega away. And now it's Okada targeting the midsection of Kenny Omega. something that I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing in Texas. Let's target the soon-to-be diverticulitis of Kenny's abdomen here. Kenny then charges to Okada and gets placed on the top rope and drop kicked to the floor. Okada is then trying to get Kenny through the table. Kenny blocks it and attempts a one-winged angel off the apron through the table, but that gets blocked. Then Kenny is running the ropes and gets a huge back body drop over the top rope, crashing through this table on the floor. This looked great, and it's also one of these things to remember as we're going to kind of go back to this spot a couple of times in this feud.
I mean, you know what? Like, a back body drop isn't necessarily a move, especially in modern wrestling, that you think is so devastating. But the way it's set up is perfect. You kind of forget about that table. You kind of thought that the tables were broken because he was kicking him through it. But out of nowhere, it's just this huge. Okada's really tall, right? So, like, flipping him over all the way out of the ring, going crashing and burning through this table. It's kind of a simple but very effective spot.
And it is, as you said, the height of Okada, like, gets Omega so high in the air before crashing through this thing. It looked awesome, gets a massive reaction from this crowd, and then the referee starts to count. But Okada, at this point, the valiant babyface decides to break the count, throws Kenny into the ring, this time lands his top rope elbow drop, does the Rainmaker pose, and sets Kenny up for the Rainmaker. But Kenny drops and just drives Okada into the corner, shoulder first. He's targeting the abs of Okada. And then Kenny sets Okada up on the top rope and delivers an absolutely devastating avalanche snapdragon suplex. And again, no faking this. Okada just lands on his fucking head.
Yeah, I don't know how they can do this without actually hurting themselves. You know, getting put through thumbtacks or chairs, you can kind of sometimes see the pain and the damage right away. Example, blood or like bruises or swelling right away in certain matches. But when you're dropping someone on their head and smacking them as hard as some of these guys do, it's pretty crazy. And I love a good snapdragon. I'm not sure if there's also, what is it, a memory card for cell phones or gigabytes or something, and or some sort of flower or something as well. But yeah, this spot is crazy. Like, dropping him on his fucking head. Absolutely gnarly. Absolutely
Nuts. Red Shoes immediately checks on Okada as Kenny crawls over, gets the hand on top. 1, 2, but Okada kicks out. There's then a V-trigger dodged, and Okada lifts Kenny up with a crazy high German suplex. Like, the angle he gets on these things. Like,
yeah,
Germans look so different depending who hits it. And again, I think it's Okada's height that he gets this beautiful angle where it's just on the back of the neck and the head.
Like, these guys got to be able to, like, you're right. Certain people make Germans look kind of shit. It's been an overplayed move in wrestling because it looks, you can make them look like shit. I'm not necessarily calling out Brock Lesnar because he's had some great ones, but sometimes they're just like, you're hugging the guy and falling over together. Whereas this one, this guy's like throwing him like a sack of potatoes overhead. It's pretty impressive.
So there's then this another Rainmaker attempt, which is ducked. And this time Kenny finally lands the V-trigger, goes for another, but this time is met with a drop kick. And then Kenny comes back with a Poison Rana and a big V-trigger. The crowd is going crazy.
Oh, man.
Kenny gets Okada up in the electric chair for the one-winged angel, but Okada lands on his feet, flipping out of it. I love it when Okada does this, and you don't see many people counter it this way. Normally, it's just the elbows and slip down the back, but it's Omega doing the flip to drive them, but Okada just lands on his feet. It's great.
It's like Shawn Michaels countering the AA, like where you flip and land on your feet. It's so impressive. Oh, this was even more impressive than that. Like, flipping out of that, landing on his feet, and then somehow turning it into like a tombstone. At this point, the Tokyo Dome are screaming. You know, Japanese crowds are so quiet. No, they're loud, so loud for Okada Kenny chants. It is chaos.
Kenny then goes for what looks like a sort of running cutter RKO attempt, but gets caught and hit with the tombstone. And Kenny's looking glassy-eyed. Okada picks him up and Rainmaker. He lands it on Omega. 1, 2, but Kenny kicks out. Okada goes for another tombstone, but Kenny shifts the weight and counters it with a bastard driver. 1, 2. This time Okada kicking out. Now they're both on their knees. They're trading blows. They're getting up onto their feet, trading forearms. Snapdragon from Kenny. V-trigger from Kenny. And just like the timing here, the speed at this point in the match to be able to just go from move to move.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one more V-trigger, which as Kenny hits it, basically lands on top of Okada in the same motion, just falling on top of him. 1, 2, and Okada just gets up. Crazy kick out here. We get another V-trigger into the ropes this time from Kenny. The one-winged angel attempt, but Okada blocks it, slips down the back, and hits a Rainmaker. Maintains wrist control. Doesn't go for the pin.
It's all about the wrist control, kids.
All about the
you
wrist
know about the
control.
wrist control. You just see Red Shoes pointing like, hey, I see what you're doing with that wrist there. Give him a little wristy. It's all about that wristy.
And now we've got Kenny is just kicking away, trying to break the grip of the wrist. But no matter what he's doing, Okada will not let go. And then there's another Rainmaker from Okada. And he goes for one more Rainmaker. But this time, Kenny is able to duck it. The crowd are going absolutely nuts. Kenny then hits a Rainmaker pose of his own and delivers the Ripcord V-trigger. A move which I believe Seth Rollins kind of adopts from him, right?
Yes. Yes.
That period of time when Seth wasn't allowed to use the stomp and he's just trying a new finisher every week.
I think he called it the Kingslayer is what he called it.
Kingslayer, right? Yeah.
Ripcord V-trigger.
That makes sense. So delivers this Ripcord V-trigger, picks Okada up for the one-winged angel, but it gets countered into a jumping, spinning tombstone. Looks absolutely nuts. Goes to pin him, but Kenny still kicks out. And now Okada picks him up. He's going to go for one more Rainmaker. He delivers it. Kenny folds completely in half. The way Kenny sells these Rainmakers is just great. And then Okada gets on top of him. 1, 2, 3. And in 46 minutes, 45 seconds, the Rainmaker has put away the best Bout Machine.
Yeah, what a match. Lives up to the hype. When someone was like, you got to see this match. It's crazy. Yeah, it is. It totally lives up. It totally lives up to the hype all the years removed. I haven't gone back and rewatched this in quite a while. And every time I do, it's a lot of fun to revisit. There's so much back and forth action. Something I'm going to say repeatedly going through this series is every time they fight and have a match, it's like a movie. It's like there's different sections, there's pacing, there's drama, there's everything is done for a specific reason. And I'm not sure if these two are like Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat, where they just sit down and try to plan out everything from A to B. Because like, how do you even remember all these different sequences and counters to counters and like the ins and outs of all this stuff is incredible. You know, artists like bands or so forth will go out and have to memorize all these different songs and hundreds of songs and play shows once a day for years. And same with, you know, actors and all this stuff. The same as wrestling. Wrestling is an art to me. It's a sports entertainment, but it is an art because it's made up, but they're doing these incredible feats and you have to be super athletic to do it. And these two tell a story inside of a fight. Like, how do you manage to do that? And they do it perfectly. A dare I say, perfect wrestling match. It's got everything. And it's like one of these Marvel movies where if you don't know everything, if you don't know what the bastard driver is, or you don't know what this and that, it doesn't matter. It's still just action packed. wrestling, and it's awesome. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I love this match so much.
Yeah, I think what I like, as I mentioned right at the top, and this is consistent with all of them, is just the pacing of this thing. It doesn't let up right from the beginning. There's no like rest periods, headlock periods. There's no let's slow this down to pick it back up again. It's pretty non-stop throughout the whole thing. I love the work of like Okada keeps on attacking things that will weaken the one-winged angel, and kind of the story that apart from Ibushi, no one's kicked out of the one-winged angel. So I love that Kenny wasn't able to hit it at all in this match. But on the flip side, it took 4 Rainmakers to put Kenny away. So even though Kenny lost, it's like it took 4 of your best move to put me away. But if I hit one of my best moves, maybe it'll put you away. So it kind of, even in defeat, like it gives Kenny like something to go into the rematch with. Because
as soon as the bell rings,
you saved that moment of a one-winged angel.
Like you said it earlier, like you know when you watch a movie and you know it's going to be like a series or it's one in the series. It's like as soon as it ends, you're like, oh my god, I have to see what happens next, and right away you're like, run that back, because from start to finish, this is exactly it's cinema to me. It's like these guys are going out and dropping each other on their heads, hitting all these kinds of strikes and rain triggers, Rainmakers. The only thing this match is missing is the one-winged angel, and that might be what needs to happen for Kenny to finally beat Okada. And maybe, just maybe, we're not only talking about a wrestling move, because the Young Bucks are ringside for Kenny Omega, and Kenny doesn't get the job done. And the next time, the Young Bucks will be ringside for Kenny, and they won't be able to get the job done. But what happens when that one-winged angel, Kota Ibushi, lands? Maybe he will. But there's little things in the stories. I think they do such a good job. But this is one of my favorite matches ever. If not, this one might be like some people when they say they like A New Hope more than Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. I might be in the same boat. I think this one's one of the shorter ones of today. One of the shorter ones, because these matches go like hour plus. This one's the original to me. This is the like, holy shit, this is the one that changed everything. I like this one maybe the most, but we're going to go through the other. I have not made up my mind, but this one has the most rewatch value in the series, I'd say. Yeah,
I think like you can't have the others without this one. And I think everything it sets up, the story of the one-winged angel and all that, and then setting up, the table spots that they're going to scout, the guardrail spots that they're going to scout in each match. There's all these little things that are going to be consistent throughout. It's a very easy 5 stars from me for this match. Where would you go with this one?
Like Uncle Dave Meltzer, 5 stars for me. Honestly, I every time I watch this, it just makes me go, oh, this is like the shit I love about watching pro wrestling and being super nerdy into this shit. So like, yeah, this is going to be a tough one as we go through the next few matches, because watching them, they're almost like all of them is a series, is a movie. I can't just pick one. I don't have kids, at least at this point in my life, and like I couldn't be able to pick one. I'm sure I have nothing. These aren't my matches. I have a hard time being like, I like this one. I consider them all like a whole like thing, I don't know. I really enjoyed watching.
Are you like what I would say about Lord of the Rings? Like,
yeah,
I might prefer the third one the most, but really it's just one big movie.
Really, it's all one thing to me. It's all one story arc, right? Like, it's kind of like that with Stone Cold and The Rock when we did that show. It's like all of the big WrestleMania matches, of course, I'm talking about, because they fought so many other times. But like this Omega and Okada, it's the whole series, the whole story to me that it makes up this whole arc that is top notch for me. All the stars for this one for sure. It's going to be tough to pick, but this one's up there for me as one of the best matches ever. And I'm furious that I didn't go to this one, but how did the buzz wasn't there yet? This is what got me to go to the next one, but that's why I have to go see it this time around, because I was so bummed that I didn't get to see this match. I can't hear you.
Meltzer gave this 6 stars and cage match. has this at a 9.82.
So, like, a big part of the hype, obviously, this is where people will Dave Meltzer this, Dave Meltzer that, but he's obviously one of the more popular wrestling journalists, wrestling reviewers, all that stuff, Wrestling Observer. And him giving this 6 stars, I think, got a lot of people talking. And he said that quite possibly one of the best wrestling matches ever. And it got so many people talking and this and that. And I think that added to some of the lore of like people, well, if this guy said it's good, then like we're gonna have to check it out. And again, not being part of WWE, I think had a lot of people like the hipster wrestling fans being like, "Ooh, yeah, I gotta check out whatever that is," and did not disappoint.
Like I do get Meltzer's thinking. Like we keep it to 5 stars here because where else would you go? And I think keeping it at 5 stars, like we're kind of going, you know, sometimes we grade at a curve because we're watching something from the 80s, and how do you compare it to something from today? But you know, it happens elsewhere. There were 5-star hotels for years until like the Burj Al Arab came along, and that was 7-star hotel. You know, like it happens. And Meltzer's reasoning, it's like, yeah, I gave this one more stars because I personally think it's better than the matches I gave 5 stars.
It's
which
also,
I thought were better than the matches I gave 4.5 stars.
Again, I will argue that to me, pro wrestling is an art, whether people agree or disagree, and art is objective. To someone, they could not like this stuff. To someone, they could really love this stuff. And I think there's people out there, certain wrestlers maybe will be like, oh, the star ratings are garbage and don't matter and this and that. When like there's star ratings. Every time I take an Uber, I rate my driver. Every time I get food, I like tend to like, oh, you know, when you have dinner with someone, how was it? You know,
I completely agree.
Everything is rated in a scale.
There's
like, I'm
so
sorry.
many things that get my back up when I'm seeing wrestlers kind of criticize, like, let's say what we are doing here, right?
Yeah.
We're doing it because we love pro wrestling. We want the conversation of pro wrestling to go outside of your 2.5 hour Monday Night Raw or whatever. Do you really, as a performer, especially as a performer who's putting your body on the line, do you want to go out there, do your 20-minute match, and then no one thinks about it at all? All they're thinking about is, you know, shall we get popcorn from the concession stand? What are we having for dinner when we get home? Like, what am I doing at work tomorrow? Don't you want your art to like last and have a lasting impression? People are still talking about and reviewing and giving theses or whatever on Monet paintings or
Shakespeare,
Mozart, Shakespeare, etc.
Right.
And like, it's good. You might disagree. Of course, it's objective. I think people have different tastes as well. Like, when I used to read Empire magazine, I started to learn kind of who the reviewers were, and this is the reviewer. I tend to have similar tastes to them. If they say something's worth watching, I'm going to watch it. This one doesn't particularly have the same interest as me, so maybe I'm not going to feel the same way. I think it's like, you know, just sit up, shut up and enjoy the show is such a dangerous way, because I think it just creates people being apathetic about what you're doing. And any artist doesn't want you want a reaction, whether it good or bad. You want to create a painting and show it, and people like, I feel like angry looking at that, or like, that some reason makes me sad, or whatever. As you said, everything is rated, and I think wrestlers act as if star ratings is like wrestling is the first thing to ever get reviewed or rated. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, especially your Triple H's being like, the internet and the reviewers and all this stuff. Like, there's podcasts about The Bachelor. There's podcasts about every single thing out there that is considered some form of entertainment or art form. And of course, people are going to talk about wrestling and which match of the WWE do match of the year. Slammy Award goes to, like, you must be aware that there is a art to what makes something good and what makes something bad. And like
all of them, all of them. It's hypocritical. You shouldn't rate a match, but my favorite match of all time is this. Okay, it's your favorite match, which means you rate it above other matches. We're just qualifying those ratings with stars, or John and Way with coffee, or whatever, like cage match with a 10-point system, you know?
Yes, me usually with my fire emojis. But I hear Seth Rollins always going off about the star ratings and never, never gotten a 5-star match. Maybe he's just grumpy about
Has
it.
he
Or maybe
not?
the Cody Rhodes.
I think
Rhodes,
Cody
the
got,
Hell in a
and
Cell.
yeah,
He's had some good matches. Don't get me wrong, but he always is the one to be like, "Oh, star ratings don't matter, this and that." I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you sound kind of like grumpy.
It's the same
grouchy.
people who say, "Oh, you know, Japan, they're just reserved, they're quiet." It's those same wrestlers, isn't it? Who
and there's fans too. Like, to some people, just wrestling doesn't exist outside of WWE. That's just a thing. Like, think when you got into other stuff. At one point when you were a kid, it was like wrestling is just WWF, WWE, and then maybe your taste change as you get older, just like your movie taste, just like your music. You kind of evolve and move on to. Staying on the subject of Seth Rollins, you mentioned the Rain Trigger, the Ripcord, the Kingslayer. After watching this match, I told you I went deep into my New Japan love, and at the time I was working for Fight Network, and New Japan Ring of Honor announced a show in Buffalo where I met our good friend Jordan Goodman. So I basically convinced my boss at the time, Kenny Omega is not doing a show anywhere in Canada, but this is the closest in Buffalo to Toronto. Since the hype of this Omega match, I think it would be a good idea to interview them. And they set it up for me, and I was able to do that. And in the interview, I think I've told this, Jordan hooked me up with the entire Bullet Club. And as they come to set up, walk in, my camera guy, shout out Sam, great guy. He can't get the camera to work or the microphone or anything. So I just pull out my iPhone, put the phone out and go, guys, my camera guy, it's dead. I'm just going to record audio if that's cool. And I started recording an interview with all of them, and it was amazing. And I finally got to talk to Kenny, and I brought up that match, and I said, the praise, and he gave some. I'm sure this interview is probably somewhere out there, but he then goes off on Seth Rollins and says, like, yeah, people are going and stealing my moves when, like, everything I'm doing is for a reason, and like this and me has meaning, where other people just taking my shit. He's like the proof, the cream will always, rise to the top, essentially, or whatever the saying. But I thought that was pretty interesting, that he was maybe not so like upset that people were kind of jacking his shit, but like it's still funny.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in music it would be sampling without permission.
Sampling without, I guess clarifying it. Yeah,
I think it depends which way you're looking at it, and I think I know we have listeners. I always think of Cowboy Brent, who's like, I just watch wrestling for an escape. I don't overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
I often say sometimes I just want to watch a really shitty comedy that I don't really need to pay attention to or think of. And that is fine. But other people, other performers look at it like an art. I think both of us would defend that it's an art, and you can get more out of it. Like if you're getting emotionally invested in a way, and you hear a Kenny speak about his art, and you realize as soon as he's talking, he's like, yeah, this guy's just talking like a musician would about a single they've just written or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's totally like that. And you feel the art can be anything. Sometimes I'm in the mood to watch Superbad, and sometimes I want to watch The Godfather Part 2. And Kenny Omega has wrestled dolls and little girls in DDT, and that's essentially the Superbad. But then he's also had his Godfather Part 2 right here with Okada. So again, art is objective, and to me, pro wrestling, whether you like it or not, is art. And what a masterpiece this match is. WrestleKingdom 11. Oh my God, all the stars to this match.
Well, let's move forward. Just a few months later, it's announced that the rematch will take place at Osaka Joe Hall in Osaka, Japan, on the 11th of June, 2017 for New Japan Dominion. And this is the big rematch here between Kenny and Okada.
Yeah.
And
Kenny says in the video, like, hey, people are saying that was the greatest match ever, but you wouldn't have had the match without me, and you barely beat me. So we got to do this again. And I'm the one, he's the heel still, I guess. I'm the one that made the match good. Yes. Heel logic, but I love it.
So we go to the match, and it's an incredibly fast pace. Once again, the one-winged Angel's blocked early. Okada goes for his drop kick, but Omega's holding the ropes. And from that, Okada tweaks the knee, which Omega's going to target throughout this match. Okada then hits a tope con hilo to the floor, which tweaks his knee even more and allows Kenny to follow up with a drop kick to the knee and then a figure four attacking the knee. Now, I don't think in the first match we had any submissions, if I'm right.
Maybe at the beginning with like certain side, headlocks and stuff and some of the like chain wrestling, but not necessarily submission stuff. Because at this point, what does Okada have? The red ink, like Rush Hour 2? It's
Yes, he hasn't brought in the money clip quite
yeah,
yet.
not yet, but yeah.
So he's hitting the figure 4, which Okada's trying to get out of. There's then a knee breaker from Kenny to Okada on top of the table. And then Okada manages to get back by catching Kenny with a flapjack and applies the STF. Another
Yes.
one of the other GOAT's moves.
Well, this is the red ink, right?
This is red ink, right,
Yeah.
yes.
It's an STF, kind of similar to better than John Cena's, I would say, but very impressive.
Locks it in, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he learned this down in Mexico. It looks like he got the grapevine in there. Very nice. I love the style of how this match starts. It's kind of similar to the first one, but they're going like band for band here. They're going counter for counter. They're doing all the arm drags and ins and outs and like showing that they definitely know each other. And again, the chemistry between these two is unmatchable. It's beautiful to watch. Nerding out over this wrestling.
So Okada's now in control, and he pushes Omega into the barricade and then hits him with this running crossbody over the barricade, something we're going to see throughout the next few matches. But this looks great, just crashing into all the chairs here.
Yeah, Okada's got hops, man. He flies. Again, this guy's like 6'4", something like that, 6 something, and he's flying through the air.
Boy.
Yeah, yes. Very impressive to do this. He's like a basketball player, but then turns his body sideways and lands and sends Kenny into all the chairs and everything. But great spot. 6'4", 240. That's right. How big Okada. Like that's wow.
Okada attempts a tombstone, but that gets countered, and then Okada counters the counter, which Omega counters into a roll up, but Okada kicks out. Okada delivers his neck breaker across the knee and then goes for the elbow, but Kenny rolls away. And then Omega jumps to the top rope and just delivers this absolutely beautiful moonsault. But I don't know if it was like
intentional
Sabu-esque or like he does this wobble on the top rope as he's trying to get his balance, and you just hear this like gasp from the audience, but then picture perfect. I mean, if you're looking at the video here, look at his body just completely upside down, arms spread. This is a thing of beauty, and especially this is one of my favorite venues in Japan. It just looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like a spaceship. This venue. I need to go to this venue. It looks beautiful. I am visiting Osaka this year, but I'm not seeing any wrestling there. And this venue looks like it's like all these lights, like a spaceship or Starry Night or something. I don't know what it is. It reminds
me of, in Star Wars where they have those big councils.
With
all the different
the Senate.
The Senate, because it looks it's if you don't know what we're talking about, it's a dome, and the crowd goes up, but then it's got these levels of lights that are kind of coming back inwards to form the dome, but it almost looks like more layers of the crowd going up, and it just looks beautiful, like these like soft gold lights with the blue light shining through. I think New Japan is shot so beautifully at times, and these matches especially.
Oh yeah, all these matches are shot so like cinematic and like sports mixed with it's very, very. But when he's doing this move upside down in the midair, it does make me think that he did the slip intentionally. He does the classic wrestler clap to like get himself in sync.
Right, let's get this right. Yeah.
Whenever wrestlers do the clap, it must be for a reason, because they manage to get in sync with each other. But he scares you, the viewer, as like, oh my God, is he slipping? Because there's not really any botches in these matches, actually. If you're rewatching these, maybe that's why Meltzer loved them so much. Like I don't think there's a botch in this move. And I think this minuscule slip, if you will, was actually intentional from Kenny. But wow, what this was like a top rope Asai moonsault, like very high angle, beautiful as he lands on Okada.
Omega follows up with the top rope missile drop kick to the back of the head. This one might have even looked nastier than the one in the first match. There's then a gut wrench power bomb. He attempts the Snapdragon, but it gets blocked, and then Kenny just slaps him in the back to weaken him and goes up for the one-winged angel, but it gets blocked. Omega goes for "you can't escape," but Okada escapes with the knees up and then hits his running uppercut. I love this uppercut he does, where The other guy is like just getting up. They're like sat down or on their knees, and he just runs and takes their head off.
Yeah.
Omega then teases a top rope powerbomb, but this gets blocked. Okada is remaining on the top rope. So Omega attempts to go once again for the top rope snap dragon, but this gets blocked by Okada. They're now fighting on the apron, and Okada hits Omega with a Death Valley driver on the apron. Death Valley driver, it's quite a simple move, and I've seen it look great and it look kind of meh, but again, the height of Okada and like tossing Omega in the air, he gets so much height in this, and Omega like arching his back before crashing down on the apron. It just looks like a thing of beauty.
The way he does this move is nice. What does he call it? The heavy rain? Is that what he was? That the other one with the backbreaker? But either one of them, like this one is nuts to lift him and slam him there again because he's so tall and he gets so much speed. But Okada like goes like Super Saiyan halfway through this match. Not quite yet, but yeah, awesome.
There's a running shotgun drop kick which sends Kenny flying into the guardrail, and Okada once again brings out the table. And Okada keeps on going for a powerbomb out the ring through the table, but Okada is doing everything in his might to hold on. And then Omega just charges at Okada, gets backdropped, but this time Kenny has scouted it and lands on the apron. And then this allows Okada to just start delivering these elbows, signals for the Rainmaker. But as soon as Okada like goes to the Rainmaker, Omega just desperately backs him into the corner. I loved it. It looked like a thing of panic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like him doing this Rainmaker and oh shit, just driving him into the corner. Like no,
it's like it's like in any sport when like you're playing defense and someone's about to score or something. You're like, oh shit, and you're like running. You're like, ah.
We've seen some incredible counters, but this one was just like, fuck, nope. Like just ram you into the corner here.
That's another thing. Like these guys have like how many variations of escapes to each other's moves that are escapes of each other's. It's like the back and forth between these guys. And to think like there's not even like rest time in these matches. Really, a lot of it is just so much action packed, and it's like the John Wick series because first one starts off normal time length, and then they just start going like what if we just fucking go balls to the wall. And by John Wick 4 you're like, holy fuck, dude, like this is 4 hours of John Wick fucking some people up. And that's exactly what this is just 4 hour long match, and we're not even like halfway through it at this point, and we're like they're killing each other with all these different counters. But Kenny to just get away from it by just going no and just shoving him is like little things in it that go a long way.
There's then a huge top rope superplex from Kenny for a 2. Again, just we see tons of superplexes. Why does this one just look so much better?
This is
the height on it, right?
Yeah, the Io Shudo. I'm probably butchering the DDR named. He usually does it like the sushi goroshi as I call it. But this one's like a brainbuster version off the top rope. Shout out DDR, even though I'm terrible at it.
There's then a V trigger, which gets scouted by Okada. Okada goes for the German suplex, but Kenny lands on his feet and delivers a crazy looking V trigger. Goes to the one-winged angel, but it gets scouted again. There's the Rainmaker attempt, but that gets blocked. Kenny goes for another knee, but that gets blocked. And Okada delivers a crazy high-angle German suplex. Maintains waist control, hits a second German suplex, and then Rainmaker. 1, 2, but Omega kicks out.
Yes, the crowd start to roar even louder here in Osaka. Very like we've seen him kick out of it already, and the story was, hey, he's kicked out of a few of these, but this is just the first time in this match.
So Okada goes to the drop kick, but this time gets caught in midair by the power bomb, and then Omega gets put on the turnbuckle, drop kick to the floor. Okada sets Kenny up on the table, and this is where the Bucks are trying to get involved. They're like, no, he's going to try and put him through the table. And well, he does just that. Okada comes off the top with an elbow drop through the table, sends Omega into the ring. Another Rainmaker. And now Cody Rhodes comes out with
Brunette Cody.
Cody, yes.
He looks so different. You forget that he didn't have the blonde hair always, but cute brunette, not cute, heel, awful human Cody here with the towel because the Bullet Club is fine, right?
Yeah.
So Cody threatening almost to throw in the towel on behalf of Kenny Omega. Oh, the drama. I also loved the Young Bucks telling the ref, like, we're just giving him water. You're upset about water? Like, Okada's literally setting up a table and we're just giving him water and you're getting angry at us? Like, what the fuck? I thought that was jokes. But the towel getting involved is pretty, like, at one point you're like, no way would they do this with Cody throwing it in. And it's the Bucks who stop him from doing so.
So this is where the rest of Bullet Club and the Bucks stop Cody from throwing the towel in. A bit of loads came out here. Like, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. You had Farley, you had Yujiro, you had Tamatonga and
Tokyo Pimps
and Tangaloa. Hangman Page here, who, look, Hangman's always been a handsome looking guy, but you can tell he's earning the bigger bucks now because this shirt, tie, and waistcoat combination didn't look quite as nice as the stuff he's wearing now.
He's not quite young boy Page at this point, but like he's still not necessarily like a big part of the act. He's about to be featured a whole lot more, but yeah, a funny part of this match, but also adding more drama to this. Like, hey, wait, is this how this is gonna? This can't end this way. Like,
I feel it kind of it kind of baby faces Kenny as well, even though some of these guys are a lot more heelish, but still it's just like it's like, we want our friend to win. Come on. He's on the cusp of something huge here. The whole match now becomes like NXT Underground because you've got the whole Bullet Club surrounding the ring. You've got Gato there. You've got the Bucks there. You've got the Young Lions at ringside, photographers, cameramen. Like, it's just so many people around the ring now. And it just makes you feel like, oh, this is getting up to an even bigger deal now.
And Okada takes the towel and throws it at him.
Yeah. So Kenny then fires back up, goes to the drop kick. Goes for the V trigger, but gets hit with a drop kick. Another Rainmaker attempt, which gets blocked. Another V trigger. And now a V trigger to the back of the head of the Rainmaker. And Kenny is feeling it. Omega goes for the one-winged angel, but Okada once again flips out of it. There's one more V-trigger from Kenny. He gets him up once more for the one-winged angel. Okada still fights out of it. And now Omega hoists him up and drives him to the mat, finally hitting the one-winged angel. 1, 2. And the way Okada is folded over, he just needs to tip his leg back like 2 inches to get his foot on the rope. And you see Kenny is just like distraught. Like, how? That was my biggest weapon and I wasn't able to put him away. He didn't kick out.
That's right. That's right. No one can kick out of the one-winged angel except Kota Ibushi. But Okada manages to get his foot on the rope. Very dramatic. Ooh, the crowd were shrieking when Cody teased the throw in the towel, and now they're losing their GD mind when Okada got the foot on the rope. I think the crowd again are just like, we love both of these guys, but the story of Kenny, it's almost baby-faced him completely at this point because now you're just like, these guys are great. But what a story here! Like that one move that he knows once he uses, but Okada just gets his toe on that rope. It's a great spot.
Kenny puts the gun to Okada's head, like the finger gun to signal, right, this is it. And Okada grabs the finger and turns it into a Rainmaker.
Finger control.
Finger control,
eh?
It's not quite as effective as the wrist, but now both men are down.
You know what's good when you have the wrist and the finger control at the same time. What a creative thing here. Like Kenny doing the match before when the dollar and Kenny caught it and like crumpled it and then did the gun. Whereas this time he's doing the gun, getting a little cocky, and Okada's like, nah, all I need is to grab one part of you to connect with the Rainmaker. I really loved it.
So both men are down, both gradually getting up. There's some desperation, sort of near fall attempts. And then Okada goes for the Rainmaker but Kenny just collapses.
Oh.
So Okada, the lariat goes right above his head as Kenny just falls to the mat. This gets a massive reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, they're really like, but again, they've turned and just want Kenny to win here, but Kenny dodging the move and maybe even more creative way of just passing out.
Kenny then managed to sit up Okada, delivers a V trigger to the face. Okada comes back with the spinning, jumping tombstone, and then a German suplex with a bridge. And this is one of my favorite calls from Kevin Kelly in this match, because he goes like, a German with a bridge at this point? As if like, yeah, okay, maybe 55 minutes into this thing, you can hit a German suplex, but you still have the control and the like abdominal strength to bridge into this. Like, how?
And then this is like a ticking time bomb too, because it's New Japan, hour-long time limit, and the Japanese announcer in the arena is going like, hey, 10 minutes left. And that's when you hear another, oh, like shock and awe from the crowd. 5 minutes left. Oh, like they are like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, wait a second, what's going on here? It was the same like years later, Kenny versus Danielson, which we were at Grand Slam. It was the same thing. It was like, wait a second, we gotta, something's gonna happen here. Something's gotta give, essentially.
There's a massive drop kick to Kenny into the corner. 2 minutes left, and Okada is struggling to pick up Kenny. Okada goes for the Rainmaker, but Kenny gets into the ropes. 60 seconds left. We have repeated elbows to Okada as he's still maintaining wrist control, but Okada refuses to let go of the wrist. There's a snapdragon from Kenny. Okada releases the wrist. A drop kick from Okada, and then the Rainmaker. And both are down. The clock is ticking. We see Okada wake up, and he's gradually crawling himself, dragging the corpse of his body over to Kenny Omega. He drapes his arm on top of him, and ding, 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 ding. The 60-minute time limit has expired.
Wow. Tie game. GG. GG, fellas. Tie game. But Okada retains. They're both pissed. They're both selling. They're both like beating the hell up. They look like they've been through a car crash each. And they're both just scowls on their face because they're like, no, we were still fighting. And it's more so not even about the belt at this point. It's about just beating the other man, because Kenny kind of got in his head with the like, hey, you beat me, but like, really, did you? Just by a hair? And this time you couldn't in 60 minutes. Also love Gato asking him afterwards, hey, am I still getting paid for being your manager and booker?
I actually think the post-match is kind of as important as the match here.
Because
so often, we suspend our disbelief a lot in wrestling. And let's say a ladder match or a cage match, when suddenly they're climbing at the slowest pace.
Yeah.
Or, you're dragging yourself to make a tag. And it's like, okay, but I'm sure you've got a little bit of strength in there to just get up and run over and tag the guy. Whereas here they've gone 60 minutes. Okada being dragged to his feet as they're like, it's a draw, which means you're still a champion. Them raising his hand as his eyes are just completely glossed
crispy
over.
Clean, Krispy Kreme eyes, like, whoa, glossy.
Which sells it. And I think the crawling to try and pin Omega could have come across very, very goofy, but you believe it. These guys have the pace they've been going at, like they've been sprinting for 60 minutes straight. It makes sense that he's done it. His last desperation Rainmaker, and it's just, fuck, I've just got to get my body to the other side of the ring to pin him, and just runs out of time. I think it's great.
It's crazy how this is an hour long. Like sometimes when we do reviews, whether it's wrestling or movies, and we look at the runtime of things, we're like, fuck. But this is an hour. It didn't feel like it at all. It didn't feel like an hour at all. It just breezed. Again, it's a movie with the action sequence, the main event action fight that just goes on and continues and has this whole story and crescendo and ups and downs and all this. Like, Empire Strikes Back, because we didn't get a winner this time. I mean, the bad guy wins in Empire Strikes Back, but like it leaves you again being like, but he didn't pin Omega this time, and this time Omega didn't pin him, and they went an hour where last time they only went 44 minutes. So
okay, I've got a question for you. So in football, soccer, you often get draws, and sometimes a draw can be a win for one team, and think end of season 1 of Ted Lasso, where Ted realizes we only need 1 point to stay up. We only need to draw, whereas the team they're against needs the 3 points to win the league. So a draw is a loss to the opposition, but a draw is a win to Richmond, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So in this case, in this draw, yes, Okada retains the belt, but who do you think won the match? We don't, for all we know, Kenny could have kicked out from that Rainmaker. Kenny did hit the one-winged angel, which could have put him away had it been in the middle of the ring. I kind of like when you come out of this and you go, really like, okay, who actually had this match here?
Yeah, no, you know what? I always think that this one wouldn't hold up because I know it ends in a tie. So I haven't necessarily, I think I've rewatched this only like twice before, and it totally, like, you don't want it to end. I don't speak fluent Japanese, but I am sure some people were like 5 more minutes, more minutes. Cause like, this is an hour straight of just nonstop fighting. And I hate to always use Bret Hart versus Shawn Iron Man match as the like comparison, but compare that to this hour-long match. This breezes by of just never ending. The only time they finally like have some slowing down points is like when Kenny passes out, or at the end when there's like the crawling, and that's it is an hour of like crazy shit.
All those moments are allowing the crowd to go crazy. Yeah, it's not necessarily allowing the performers to breathe. It's allowing the crowd to soak in this moment. And yeah, I mean, normally I watched this last night, and pulling the curtain back a bit, Tuesdays are tough for me a lot of the time because I work my day job and then I do Up Next. And in the case yesterday, we worked another job in between my day job and Up Next. So I was pretty much up since 9:30 through till about 12:30, which is around the time we get the show up in the evening. And I was like, man, I need to break these matches up somehow. I don't want to watch them all back to back. I want a little break between each one. So I kind of have to watch this tonight. And it's daunting. You know, you're going to 60 minutes. You know you're going to a draw. And normally, as soon as Up Next is done, I crash out. I throw on some trash TV and just zonk out. I watched this last night, and it flew by. And I was so captivated, even though I know exactly where we're going, even though I'm still working by taking notes and stuff. And it completely breezed by, where I'm going like, this is moving really quickly. And I'm watching with Graham, and he's like, yeah, but we're only like 20 minutes in. And then they go 40 minutes, 20 minutes remaining. And we're like, what? How? And that's just, I think that to me shows how good this match is. And I'm like you, I've possibly watched this one the least. And on rewatch, I don't know, I'll save my thoughts at the end, but holds up. Like,
maybe because they know this is the one where we go a tie, and it's kind of a like, not a wet fart finish, but like maybe people might be sour. So how about in this one we go like balls to the wall, because there isn't going to be a finish. Because this like an hour straight of just doing it. Like, again, you got to have these things memorized. There's not one time when someone slips up on a counter to a move or a sequence of being in the right. Like, there's so much room for error doing this, right? Like, I just appreciate that these guys are considered some of the best for a reason, because like they're just so on top of their game. When you watch this, it does feel like this big, important movie fight cinema, if you will. I really, again, this one was the least amount of times I've watched all their matches, and maybe it was the most fresh for me. But yeah, it really hit. And then at the end, you're like, just 5 more minutes, please. And they're like, don't worry, we'll go back to this match one day, maybe.
It has a lot of callbacks from their previous match. Like I'm thinking to the guardrail spots, the constant attempts of the one-winged angel, the backdrop towards the table, like all that stuff. Nice callbacks where, if you are familiar with the first match, you appreciate that. And as you said, as the matches go on, they layer the counters to the counter of the counter and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this also had the extra drama of the Bullet Club is fine story. Cody Rhodes, you know, his character trying to do the right thing. His boy's in peril, or is he trying to fuck over his boy?
Exactly.
You've got all that stuff, but allowing the Bullet Club to be there, which I think for those final like minutes, having them drumming the mat, like trying to get Kenny back into it as the clock is ticking down. It's all right. This is a masterpiece. It's fantastic.
It really is. Everyone plays their part. Okada's on point. Kenny's on point. Gato, Red Shoes, Cody, everyone. Love it. Love it so much. 5 stars, 5+. Like it's, again, sometimes it's so hard, the rematch, to live up to the hype of the first one. And most times it doesn't. And oh boy, it does. And then some. It's so great.
So I'm going 5 as well, obviously. Meltzer, 6.25 stars.
Ooh, he broke the scale that he broke.
Yes.
For this match. Incredible.
Cage match, 9.71. So just a smidge lower than the first match.
Okay.
Yeah, Meltzer going higher, Cage
like,
match going slightly lower.
It's the rewatch. You know, like years later, we will get the hour-long MJF Danielson Iron Man match. And like, that's not necessarily a match that you're going to go, oh, I'm just going to throw this one and watch it. Because it's an hour plus entrances and all that stuff. It's a long match, but these, like, I feel like the fight forever thing for Kenny and Okada is legit. It's like, if you wrestled for a straight hour and it tied and it felt like 15 minutes to me and I want more, like that shows how good you are.
Yeah. So then we move on a little bit. It is the G1 tournament. It gets announced that just 2 months after this match, Kenny and Okada are in the same block. I miss the days when the block announcements would come out and you'd go, oh shit, this is the match we're getting. And I remember there being a little bit of like, is this too soon? We're really going to have, they've just gone 30 minutes and now you expect us to buy that they can get a match done in 30 minutes. I kind of remember these conversations going on. Like it's cool, we're getting Kenny Okada, but the fact it's in the G1 with a time limit and not for the title and that, people are like, oh, okay, it's a little weird.
It's weird because Okada's your champion and he's in this tournament, but I like how they make it like, again, more of a sport where, hey, on any given day, one of the bad teams in a sport can beat the other ones on an off chance. We see it in sports all the time, in finals and in tournaments and all sorts of stuff. So it makes sense, but no matter what, whoever wins the tournament gets the title shot, but your champion's allowed to be in the tournament and you have the match again, but now in the, like we said, is this match canon in this rivalry? Because it happened still while that was still floating up in the air, but now you are under the restrictions of this is a 30-minute time limit and the winner doesn't win the title. They just go on in the tournament. So you have yourself as the viewer being like, okay, well, in 1 hour, they couldn't beat each other. How would they beat each other in 30 minutes? And as soon as the bell rings, you're like, oh, okay. This is how, because it's like they know as competitors and kayfabe, if you will, well, I couldn't beat this guy in 60, so I have 30. Better turn it up a little, better put a little mustard on this to really get the job done. So this one might be like the lost one in this tournament, or maybe everyone's least favorite because it's the shortest, but that doesn't, quantity over quality as well. But it still is fantastic. Oh, I can't hear you.
This is from the 12th of August, 2017, G1 Climax at Ryogoku Kokugikan. It's Okada versus Omega. Omega now at this point is your newly crowned US champion.
Yes, there's a lot of lore like here. So after the draw with Okada, the whole stuff with Cody Rhodes attacking Kenny happens. We bring in Kota Ibushi. We reunite the Golden Lovers. This is my favorite period of just wrestling. NXT was killing it at this time as well. New Japan, all the alternatives to what WWE was giving me at this time, and I was loving it. But Kenny doing the whole stuff with the Bucks, Golden Lovers, Ibushi. But here, also the Jericho. That's the WrestleKingdom 12, which I was at, and they made the new U.S. title, and that's what Kenny has now versus US champion versus world IWGP champion. So a lot has kind of gone on, a little wild that this has happened. But as viewers, you were just waiting till we got to this rematch.
Now, I legit had to check that I had the speed correct at the beginning of this match, because I thought I was watching this on at least 1.5 speed.
That's what I meant. At this, they go for broke here.
As you said, like right at the beginning, you understand. This is like, you know, extra time, sudden death. It's let's go, balls to the wall, super quick. They're both going for their drop kicks, V triggers, Rainmaker attempts early. Finally, Omega lands a snap dragon, and then there's a one-winged angel attempt, but Okada breaks out. Okada then sets Omega on the top turnbuckle, drop kicks him to the floor, and launches him against the barricade. Okada sets Kenny on the chairs at ringside, sprints, and launches himself over, hitting that crossbody over the barricade to the chairs, like in the previous match.
This time, though, again, like turned up a lot. Like, so he's running faster, he's jumping. They go more into like the chairs and the audience and stuff. So it's
scattering around more.
Yeah, it's already more rabid than the other one. Like, this is like you're pressing play halfway through one of their other matches where we're killing each other, but it's not the case.
There's then a huge elbow drop from the Rainmaker. We're only 3 minutes in at this point, and we've had like barricade spots and Rainmaker and one-winged angel attempts. The Rainmaker gets blocked again, and Kenny sends Okada to the outside. Okada follows up with a pescado to the floor. Kenny delivers a missile drop kick. This time doesn't do it to the back of the head, but you notice that Okada's neck and shoulder area is all taped up, and he basically delivers it right to the tape. And then Kenny gets caught with the neck breaker across the knee, and Okada gets sent to the outside, and Kenny sets up Rise of the Terminator, diving over the top rope, sends Okada back into the ring, sprints in after him, but Okada just catches him with a huge flapjack, dumping him on his face.
You know, flapjack, one of my least favorite moves in wrestling, but when you're a tall guy, it makes it look good, because the way Okada does it is when the guy's running towards you and he's so tall that he's sending you like launching, whereas a flapjack could, in a real fight, their hands would just stop them from falling.
I mean,
right?
in a real fight, if you sprinted at someone and you picked them up from their ankles, they'd die.
You'd probably hit them, like they'd probably land on there. It'd be like when, you know, Benoit did it to Sabu, like one of those high lift suplex kind of backdrop things. But Okada makes the flapjack make sense. If that makes sense.
Kenny goes for a springboard, but Okada drop kicks him to the floor. As they're fighting on the floor, Kenny hits a poison Rana. And then Kenny hits Okada with a snapdragon, this time on the apron. Rolls him into the ring, hits his like hook leg Ushigoroshi. They're now trading elbows, trading chops and slaps, and Okada hits the tombstone. There's a shotgun dropkick from Okada. They're both running the ropes, but Kenny gets the better of him with a V-trigger into the ropes. But then Kenny runs into the dropkick. Okada sets up for the Rainmaker, but Kenny blocks, and Okada delivers a high-angle German suplex, maintains wrist control, attempts the Rainmaker, but Kenny Omega delivers this huge Uranagi, which just looked awesome.
Like spiking him, like slamming him, like pancaking him to the mat here. It's just a giant thud. I don't know how these guys, the chemistry and the trust between these two, just to allow each other to beat the endless piss out of each other, because I don't know how this did not hurt. I feel this. Like, I felt this. Along with some of those V-triggers to like the face, the body, you just hear the like sounds. Like, it's pretty gnarly.
Okada, however, follows up with the Rainmaker, but Kenny kicks out. Okada follows up with two short arm Rainmakers and then goes for a third, but Kenny ducks it and hits a German of his own, holds onto the waist, hits another German, this time dumping him on top of the neck. Goes for a third German suplex, but Okada is fighting off with elbows, and then Kenny hits the Poison Rana and lays on top of Okada, kind of celebrating, pointing in the air on the count, doesn't hook the leg, So Okada kicks out on 2. Kenny sets up for the 1 winged angel, but Okada is struggling, so he drops him and hits Kreutz Wrath.
Yes, one of his like older finishers before he used to use the 1-winged angel, but this move is nasty too. Like your high angle into that German suplex, and I think it's
electric chair German. Right?
Yeah, like Don Callis on commentary is losing it. Like, oh hey, he hasn't hit this move in quite a while, and kind of bigging it up. But it is a pretty cool. I think this is another Final Fantasy reference here, of course.
Probably
This nerd Kenny Omega, but damn, can he wrestle?
He hits another German suplex, starts running the ropes for another V-trigger, but gets dropped with a drop kick. Okada goes for the Rainmaker, but that gets ducked, and Omega lands one big V-trigger. Follows up with the J Driller, hits another V-trigger, and finally, this time in the center of the ring, hits the 1-winged angel. And in 24 minutes, 40 seconds, Kenny Omega has finally defeated Okada.
Yes. Wow. What a sprint of a match. Like, this is fitting in the 30-minute time limit, but here we just have them going balls to the wall, trying to throw everything they can to finally beat the other person. And again, I think if you consider this not part of the series, I totally do, because now it's similar to, we mentioned we've done a show looking back at the Misawa Kawada stuff. And there's kind of an asterisk, as you said, when Kawada, like, it's like, oh, well, you beat us. Didn't really, that doesn't count. So it's like, Kenny beat him clear as day. But even us as the viewers, like, yeah, but it wasn't for the title. And
it's a tournament match.
We need to do it again. So that's exactly where you go as a fan. But tell me, like, normal matches go this length and they're never as this crazy. Like, this is part of the series. This is part of the collection, because it's just 20 something minutes of just anarchy with these guys hitting it all, going
24
crazy.
minutes is still a decent amount of time. Like, that's a usual main event length normally.
Absolutely.
And they treat this match like it's WWE speed. You know, it's
awesome. It's the easiest one to watch because it's the quickest one. But I think it might be people's least favorite because it is the shortest, because people are so like into seeing them go all the way.
Stakes as well, I guess.
Yeah, it's not for the title, but it totally is part of the story. And part of the story is Kenny got his groove back. Once he got together again with his boyfriend, Kota Ibushi, he beat Okada with the 1-winged angel. So things were starting to turn around after the Golden Lovers reunited. And I remember watching this being like, holy shit, okay, so we got to go back to this match eventually, and that will be the case. Like, Okada's run with this IWGP around this time, I said the WrestleKingdom was the Jericho Kenny match, but the main event was Okada and Naito. So that feud was revisited. They didn't go with Naito, even though he was really hot at the time. I think that shocked a lot of people, but ultimately way better decision to stay with Okada, because then you would go back to this series, right?
It was long-term storytelling, right? Because
Yeah.
they knew they wanted to get the title on Omega. They wanted to do this, like we saw with Cody Rhodes across 39 and 40, where Naito fails at this time when he's arguably at his hottest, and it's a risk because he could potentially lose that. But it eventually makes it all that much sweeter when he eventually does win, which will be 2 Wrestle Kingdoms after, because you have the Kenny run, and then it's Kenny Tanahashi the following year, and it's the year after that when Naito finally wins the title, and then you have Kenta ruin that, and it's blah blah blah. But they're basically setting up, hey, we could potentially have 2 really hot baby faces here, and so let's maybe not do the typical thing of just having Naito win, because there's still a lot of juice in this Okada Omega story.
Like, I remember being there for the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 12, and people were way more into Naito than Okada. I felt like in my section, I was surrounded by a bunch of very loud Japanese women who were very supportive of Naito and LIJ. And I felt like, oh, okay, this is totally like changing the guard. Like, we're totally going to have Naito go over. And it wasn't the case. And I remember being like low-key happy, like, hey, you know what? Naito is a really good match, but Okada's only losing this title to Kenny Omega, and we got to get there somehow, some way. But you know what? This is the shortest match in the series from this G1, and it's still a 5 stars from me. It's so good. I'll say it's probably my least favorite in the series after watching them all back today, because it doesn't have the stakes. It doesn't have the hour-long kind of, oomph to it, if that makes sense. But I still love it. So I don't know. Where are you? Is it your least favorite in the series?
I'll go through at the end.
Yeah.
I think I'm still trying to. I think I know which one I like the most.
Yeah.
The others, but it's so tough. And like saying something's 4th place doesn't mean I hated it. Like,
exactly.
All of these I've rated 5 stars. But
so
I really like this match because it is different to the rest.
Yeah. So
it does stand out because they are working at this different pace. So. Yeah, I like them all for different reasons.
So 5 stars from you?
Oh, yeah, 5 stars from me. This one had 6 stars from Meltzer and 9.67 on Cage Match. So, again, just a smidge below on Cage Match. Meltzer rated it the same as their first match.
Really, really love it. And then Kenny will cut a promo, speak more in Japanese, say his goodbye, good night, bang, and then he would go on to wrestle Naito in another G1 final classic.
Yeah,
like,
that's a big one.
Yeah, like that match. Oh man, like so good. There was so much good wrestling around this time with New Japan and Kenny and all the casting characters. But Kenny beat Okada, and then what? Time goes on. Time goes by, and
we have the whole rest of the year. We've got the whole WrestleKingdom run, and then it's because it's Dominion the following year that we finally get to this match once again, 9th of June, 2018. So almost a whole calendar year, like 10 months on, we're back at Osaka Joe Hall for the IWGP Championship, Okada, Omega. But this time, it has to be definitive. We have to have a winner. We don't want the restrictions of time limit. We don't even want the restrictions of 1 fall. Let's make this 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit. And I remember a lot of people going, okay, how long is this going to go? Is this going to be 2 hours, a whole day? Like, what are we doing here?
3 hours, 4 hours. It's going Broadway. It's going Titanic. It's going Irishman. It's going the whole 9 yards here. But yeah, 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit. Sounds absolutely crazy. I mentioned I was at WrestleKingdom. I made friends with an American who was living in Japan, and he straight up said, "Hey, I have a bunch of extra tickets to Dominion in June in Osaka. If you want to come, it's on me." And I remember being like, "Nah, I got to go back to Canada." And then watching this at home, probably like in the morning of the wee hours, probably with you or something. In my old place. I remember being like, fuck, I should have just stayed all these, like I should have went back, like considering how invested I was into this feud. So I always remember that being like, I should have fucking went to this. But this will also be remembered as I tried to avoid being spoiled on what happened. I mean, we all knew finally Kenny would finish his story. I don't think anyone was believing that wasn't going to happen. But I remember, I've told this story, but I have to again, where I go to sleep, set an alarm to wake up to watch it. And I did. And for some reason, Twitter did a pop-up on my phone, and it was John Pollock.
It always is, isn't it?
It
always is.
It's just Kenny Omega defeats Kazuchika Okada in Dominion, blah, blah, blah. I was like, for fuck's sake. Like, as I'm turning my alarm off, there was someone in my bed, and they were like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I was like, fuck. I was like livid. And then I was like, do you want to watch Japanese wrestling?
It is usually, it's usually post that spoils it, because I think I've blocked everything, and then I realize like I haven't blocked YouTube or something. And like, fuck.
So if some people consider this the best wrestling match of all time, it was spoiled by John Pollock inadvertently. I don't know. Twitter had never done that to me, where it just like, hey, here's this tweet that we think you should see on the main page of your phone while you're turning off your alarm. It's like, what? So I learned my lesson.
I know some people don't give a shit about spoilers, but there is that thing about, I don't know like how I'd have genuinely felt in the moment, like biting on every near fall and that kind of thing. You know, I got spoiled of The Sixth Sense for the first time I watched it. So you're watching the whole movie already knowing, and I enjoy it. I think it's a great film, but it's robbed you of an experience.
I'm on the same page as you. I prefer not to be spoiled. I don't like to read the synopsis of a movie before I go and watch it, and I don't want someone to tell me who wins a wrestling match before I watch it. That's just how I am. Call me crazy, but it doesn't ruin it, because you know what? Going back and rewatching it, I'll go back to the John Wick comparison. Every time I watch John Wick, I know he's going to kill these guys, but I'm still watching it, and it's still entertainment, and I'm still biting on the gripping action in the story and everything. So you can go back and watch wrestling matches, especially ones that really connect with you. It doesn't matter, because you'll still bite on every little thing and be like, oh, how did they kick out of that? Or even how did they even do that in retrospect? So I was pretty sour and grumpy when it happened, when I was throwing my phone across the room, and then I put on the match anyways. And you know what? I knew Kenny was going to win anyways. It didn't necessarily bother me, but is it the best match ever? We will see. But holy shit, what a match this is too.
So this is around the time that Infinity War had just come out, and we have Kenny paying tribute to that with his video there. It basically shows the whole story. It's showing everything between Okada and Kenny. It's showing the Bullet Club is fine story, the reuniting of Kenny and Ibushi, and then we've got them both stood on this golden plane.
I love this so much. So you see one white feather, and then it's like Mr. Bean appearing from the heavens, and all the feathers, and the one winged angel, Kota Ibushi. And I love this so much. And it's, have you prepared yourself for what's to come? Yes. What did it cost? And then you see the Bullet Club logo disintegrate. Everything. One of the best. Again, this is not WWE, and I think one of the best wrestling video packages. It's nerdy as all hell, but man, fucking love it. Yeah, soft spot for this one for sure. That video. What did it? Well, I need that frame. The two, what did it cost? Everything. It's so goofy, but I love it.
So we. A little negative on the match. This is Long Boy Okada. He's not quite Balloon Okada yet, but he's in the Long Boys, and we were also being told that he's been fishing to relax. Out with Ron Breaker and Apollo Crews, just fishing on the lake.
The English commentary, at least here, they're really telling okay, so I forgot that Okada debuted the Long Boys at the WrestleKingdom that I was at with Naito. But then for some reason, as this match started, I was like, okay, he's going to take them off. And he never does. And I was like, oh, he doesn't do that till after he loses the title.
Didn't he do that at MSG?
Possibly.
I think it was because I feel like I've weirdly been at 3 wrestling events where a man has taken off his pants and we've lost our mind. And that's twice with The Rock and once with Okada. I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that was the MSG show. Okay. And I think a lot of people misremember this as well, as thinking it's Okada adopts the Long Boys after he's lost to Kenny. Right. And that he goes Long Boys and Balloons, but it's not. I would think he's possibly wearing knee braces or something like that around this time. And that is why, but it's not the Okada I want to see, unfortunately.
You know what? Yeah, I think out of all the gear, this is the least best he looks. And same with Kenny's gear in this match. It's because it says K Omega on his bum, where it's just say Omega. So it kind of looks like Komega. It's just
it's Komega. Is this his Pride gear as well? It's got the rainbow flag on it.
It's kind of got some colors. The gear itself is nice with the colors and the lines and stuff, but that's just nitpicking. It's Komega on his bum, but the rest of it looks good. I like his gear in the other ones as well, like the other 2 matches. And same with Okada, as we said. As soon as Stash Pages or Chalkline put out Okada or Omega shorts, I am spending my money for sure. But I love the intro with the video with Ibushi. They say this is 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit, unlimited, as the Japanese commentator says. And we see the whole history, and now Ibushi is with Kenny Omega ringside. And then, yes, they mentioned Okada's got some pants. He's been fishing. It's kind of sounds like the champion's been coasting a little bit, a little cocky there. And nice.
It's just how he relaxes. He wants to be relaxed. For his
They
match.
said 720-day reign, 1,500 days combined, over 1,500 days combined of days of champion. So yeah, he's at his high point here, but there's only one way you can go when you're at the top.
So unlike the last 3 matches, they kind of take their time at the beginning here, and they're trying to suss each other out. Okada backs Kenny into the corner and teases that he's going to strike him, but does the classic Okada tap on the chest. And then Kenny delivers it right back. He switches him round, goes to strike him. Okada flinches, and he taps him on the chest. Okada then dodges the V-trigger. Kenny evades the drop kick, and Kenny follows up with a drop kick to the knee of Okada. As we mentioned, those knees might be potentially a little worse for wear here. Kenny goes to the Kataro Crusher, but that gets blocked. One-winged angel attempt, but both fall over the top rope to the floor, and then Okada takes Kenny out, throwing him over the barricade, sets him up on the chairs like he's done the last few matches, and runs to hit his crossbody over the barricade, but midair gets met with a V-trigger, like right to the throat here.
Yeah. Oh, like scouting it, right? Because you'd figure, fool me once, can't get fooled again. And he already hit this move on you twice in your series. You'd figure, hey, when he throws me over the barricade, he's probably going to run with that crossbody. So huge V-trigger in the middle of the crowd, too. Great spot.
Kenny drops the barricade on top of him, and now it's all Kenny on top of Okada. He's hitting multiple kicks to the back, and Okada's just inviting him for more. And Kenny follows up with a drop kick to the back of the head, which knocks Okada down. And now Kenny is dominating. He's delivering chops to the throat, locking in submissions, but he's looking kind of frustrated that he's not putting the Rainmaker down. Kenny then transitions to a camel clutch, which Okada escapes and locks in the money clip.
Boo.
But this gets escaped.
It loses a star because he uses the money clip for me in this. And he's wearing these. You're wrestling in what some call the greatest match ever in these fucking pants, man. Come on.
Yeah. There's then a Pescado from Okada, a Snap Rana from Omega, which sends Okada to the outside. And now he is sent over the barricade. And Kenny hits a springboard crossbody over the barricade to the floor. No Nick Jackson pulling the barricade back this time.
Yeah, he went flying.
Looked awesome. Follows up with a Kataro Crusher for a 2 count. And then Omega hits his like hook-legged Ushi Goroshi across the knee, followed by a V-trigger, which gets blocked. Okada hits the German, but Kenny lands on his feet. V-trigger gets blocked again, allowing Okada to deliver an uppercut. There's then a Snap Rana attempt from Kenny, but Okada hangs onto the ropes and delivers that high-angle German suplex. And this is where we are 20 minutes into the match, and we still haven't had the first fall decided.
It's already like it started a lot slower, but the pace is, you said 20 minutes, and it's already like they start going for each other's things and they're countering each other's big moves. And I thought there was like just sequences of all these little things, and they're only starting to get cooking in this match, but very impressive.
Omega attempts the Avalanche Snapdragon, but Okada fights out of it and delivers a tombstone on the apron. Oof. Omega is then drop-kicked off the apron and goes rib first into the guardrail and sounds like he's in agony, like he's kind of wheezing from this, sounds winded from this rib attack. And then Okada hits a huge dropkick off the top rope right into the face of Omega, who's just seated at this point, but it's only a 2. Okada goes up top, delivers the elbow drop. Omega comes back with the Terminator dive to the floor, drop kick to the back of the head of Okada, and then attempts the one-winged angel. It gets blocked. Kenny follows up with the V-trigger, goes to the one-winged angel again, but Okada is punching down on the head, so Omega drops him into Croyt's Wrath, doesn't go for the pin, picks him up once again for the one-winged angel, but Okada delivers a drop kick, goes to the Rainmaker, that gets ducked, allowing Kenny to hit the V-trigger, and Kenny here after this is putting all his body weight down, really trying to pin Okada, but Okada kicks out. Kenny then gets caught in the tombstone position, And I love this tombstone because Kenny isn't wrapping the legs round the neck like you often see. Kenny is kicking his legs almost like in a Y position, trying to get out of this, and is still dropped on his head. It made it more believable to me, like the struggle of not getting dropped on your head. It looked great. Okada then goes to the Rainmaker, but that gets ducked. There's a roll-up attempt from Kenny, but Okada kneels down. It's like the Brett Bulldog spot here, and pins Okada for the first fall in 28 minutes, 47 seconds.
Okada pins Omega in the first fall.
Yes, Okada, kneels down on Kenny's shoulders.
Yeah. Oh, man, the whole series thus far, there wasn't necessarily a lot of, like, roll-ups, right? Like, no, it's mostly these two. Yeah, these guys are mostly trying to kill each other and show dominance. They don't want, like, a sneak disc. They don't want a sneak pin. But Okada is like, I'm going to catch you here. And he totally catches him out of surprise. He catches you, the viewer, like, oh, shit, wait. Yeah, that's a thing in wrestling where you can pin someone just like that. And it's a very tight, like, victory roll type kind of sitting down, like, Bulldog and Bret Hart SummerSlam. So comes out of nowhere. But also this match itself is like 3 mini matches because it's a 2 out of 3 fall. So this sets you up as like Okada just got the first fall. So Kenny now has to get his rebuttal. So I think it's a pretty nice way to sneak it in. Like, hey, if this was just a one-on-one match, there is a chance that the match would have just ended by this. But Okada didn't want it to end that way. But he's desperate to get the fall here because why not?
Yeah, it works great. And it's a believable pin. Like, I think this kind of roll up where
it's tight,
your body weight is down on it, it's believable. They have been going 28 minutes, as we said. That's
already
longer than a lot of matches. So it's completely believable, but it also makes you believe that, well, there's still a lot of juice left in Kenny. He just got caught here.
Yeah.
It's not like he's been obliterated with 3 Rainmakers and pinned. It was a roll-up, so you also believe that Kenny can keep fighting for 2 more falls. I take this way over, quite often WWE, you have elimination matches or 2 out 3 falls matches. DDT, and you're like, but that's not your move, and it's 4 minutes into the match. What the hell?
Yeah, silly. WWE conditioned you into thinking certain things about wrestling, and I think once you finally like open your eyes to a bunch of other stuff, you can see what, it's just like music, someone shows you a type of genre you've never seen before. You're like, wait a second, I didn't realize I love ska or punk or all that.
Well, jazz, like jazz pretty much breaks every
killing the business.
Jazz breaks every rule, right? In music. And I enjoy jazz.
Killing the business, just like the Elite.
Exactly. So we get a 2-minute break in between falls, and we see Ibushi checking on Kenny. It's just like the Heritage Cup right here with the cornermen.
That's right. Heritage Cup rounds matches here, except the rounds are 30-minute.
Yeah.
That's a real rounds match, all right? Let me tell you.
The bell rings, and Kenny charges at Okada right away. He's like, right, I've got to get the better of him here. But Okada scouts this and gets the better of him, drop kicking him to the floor. Kenny goes to leap off the guardrail, but gets shoved off, and he lands. Like there's essentially like the guardrail, and then you've got the like crew and the commentary desks, and then another guardrail separating the fans. And he's essentially drop kicked from one guardrail to the other, like impressive. Landing ribs first again.
Very nasty.
Look great. Vicious chops from Kenny as we see sweat just flying off the chest of Okada. And then Kenny sets the table on top of Okada, leaps off the apron, and stomps right onto it, just like we saw in that first match they had. You hear Okada like screaming in pain at this point for the first time. Like he's not screaming when he like goes Super Saiyan Okada mode. He's screaming like it hurts. Like he's in agony. We have the You Can't Escape that gets blocked by Okada. He escaped and hit with the Death Valley Driver. We go to the top rope, and Kenny delivers that beautiful superplex once again. DDR. Both starts running the ropes, and Kenny lands like a essentially mid-air tornado DDT, which we don't see from Kenny that often, but looked really nice. And then Kenny is teasing a German suplex off the apron through the table, and he's milking the crowd for everything here. He's yelling at them, everyone ringside, move, all the crew, move, as he's attempting to like hoist him. And every time he yanks on Okada, this crowd are like, oh, getting louder and louder. It's such a good tease. Okada fights out, and now he's like, Omega's smacking Okada's arms to like release them and hooks them to go for the Snapdragon off the apron through the table, which is just like if he hit that, he'd be dead.
Yeah.
But there's also part of me, like, it's been a long time since I've watched this match. I'm like, fuck, does he hit
do
that?
that?
Like,
Yeah.
They're both insane enough that I believe it.
Like Kenny's got the craziest move set because he's got all these nasty things, but like the Snapdragon alone is just a nasty dastardly move, considering it's a transitional move for him sometimes. But to do it off the top is one thing, but to do it off the top through a table, like you're insane.
So Okada does block the Snapdragon, but Omega immediately picks him up in the one-winged angel on the floor. I love this photo here. If you're watching the video version, Kenny has this like smirk on his face, like, ha ha ha, I've got you. And Okada, his face is just, oh, fuck. So Kenny's going for the one-winged angel on the floor through the table, but Okada blocks it. There's a Rainmaker attempt on the floor, but that gets blocked, and Kenny hits the Poison Rana.
Best
and
move
now
in the world.
Both men are down on the floor as the referee starts to count.
The Japanese count, the New Japan count, 20 count, right?
Yeah.
They got more time to make their way. But yeah, just this action already is going so fast, so furious, dare I say. But the Poison Rana on the floor seems to be a signature in these matches. Not just the Poison Rana in the ring, because he hits a few of those too, but the one on the floor, he makes it even more nasty.
So Kenny gets into the ring. Okada is struggling. He gets the ring right on 19, but as soon as he gets in, Omega comes flying in with a V-trigger to the face. Kenny goes for the one-winged angel, but it gets blocked again, and Okada delivers his jumping, twisting, tombstone pile driver.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible. Goes to the Rainmaker, but Kenny ducks and once again delivers the twisting, spiking Uranagi. Looks awesome.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Like, this is how you do an Uranagi.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson, eat your heart out. I don't know if a rock bottom is technically a Uranagi, bookends, similar style move, but like the way he spins and again flattens this guy against the mat, I don't know how that doesn't hurt, but a back bump, crazy. This is like a knockout blow in a real fight when people hit this kind of thing. Like when you knock someone to the ground with this thing, it's nasty.
They're now trading blows. There's a Snapdragon landed by Omega. The dropkick from Okada. Omega comes back with a dropkick of his own. And this is where Omega could go for the pin, but he sets Okada up and V-triggers him. And then another roll-up attempt, and Okada almost counters it just like the first.
The same way.
Same way. But this time Kenny gets out of it, hits another V-trigger, hits the J-driller, and Okada barely kicks out. One more V-trigger, and then the one-winged angel, and 1, 2, 3. Kenny Omega has pinned Okada in 47 minutes, 47 seconds, and we are at 1 apiece.
Like the second fall, they go into this whole other gear. It's almost, they're not quite at the Super Saiyan level because they'll get there. There's still more to come, but they definitely turned it up a notch. They went into the next gear. They were dropping all their signature moves and saying like going counter for counter and moves for moves, knowing where to be in the right position at the right time. The trust between these two guys, like there's wrestling is like, you know, acting, but athleticism is a part of it. You need to be like on your point. And having commentary joke about Okada be fishing, and Don Callis is like, yeah, well, look how jacked Kenny is because he's been doing like the most serious training camp, and like you kind of believe that because he's just on point with so many of these things. But finally hitting that one-winged angel and pinning Okada tying this up for the third fall. I think the crowd were just going mental here in Osaka at this point, because as much as Okada's the guy and the ace and everything, the crowd are like way more.
They want Kenny now, and they're feeling it, right?
Yeah.
This reign's gone 700 days, and
I said it earlier, like I was spoiled on the outcome of this match, but it didn't. I was already spoiled. I knew Kenny had to finish this story. Like, you knew there was no other option for Okada to retain. No, that just would not be the case. And tying it up here now, the crowd are just eating this up if they weren't. And again, this flew by. This is what, 40 something minutes. Normally it's like, oh my God. Yeah. 47 minutes. Like, wow, how did I even make it in, let alone them wrestling 47 minutes straight. But me as a viewer still made it this far and still captivated, still like dialed into it. And now it's the third fall and it's like all guns blazing.
We have the 2-minute break. And during this whole time, like, Okada is trying to like wake up again after being put away.
He really sold that one-winged angel. They take a while. Gato, it takes a while for him to wake him up.
Yeah.
He's like, his eyes are open, but like no light, the lights are on, but nobody's home kind of thing. Yeah.
But Omega is pacing around like a caged animal. He's like a greyhound about to be released for the race. And as soon as the bell rings for the third fall, he charges at Okada with a V trigger right away and picks him up immediately for the one-winged angel. But it gets blocked. Commentary are thinking like, oh, this could be the shortest fall in like title history. But then Okada out of nowhere delivers a huge Rainmaker, like desperation Rainmaker, and both are down. And what I like here, and commentary are great on picking this up, as Omega is hit with the Rainmaker and he's like flipping inside out, his foot catches Okada in the side of the head.
Like
which like knocks him out as well, like completely, maybe deliberately, inadvertently, but like it explains why both are like completely down here.
Don Callis on commentary, which I don't know if it's I loved when Don Callis.
I love these two as a pair. I think they're great. They add so much.
He really sells it. He's like, look at the replay. His foot actually like nails Okada as well when they both go down. So he's selling that. That's why Kazuchika's down as well.
So this stalls Okada from getting on top of Omega. He eventually does 1-2 kick out. And now Okada goes to the drop kick, but as he goes to hit it, Omega just collapses into the ropes. And then Omega picks up Okada with a Styles clash. I don't think this has been quite common in the last few years with like Bullet Club leaders. Like we see Ospreay do it as well. Like, or their opponents or former leaders' greatest hits. I felt this was kind of new at the time. Omega hitting this Styles clash.
This is the first time, yeah. At least, like, especially on Okada with the whole history there and AJ and Okada and everything. So the crowd, you could hear again the gasp when he's setting up for it, the gasp of people, and then a huge Japanese AJ Styles chant in the Osaka crowd.
So it's a kick out. We get a huge leaping V-trigger in the corner. Hoists up Okada for the one-winged angel again, but this time Omega collapses under the weight. It's not Okada blocking it. Omega just doesn't have the strength.
Right. And he tries to hit his own move, and he can't do it. Like, Okada's out, but Kenny is just too gassed and weak to hit his own move, which will happen to Okada as well. So it's a good story of, like, they're both – it's an hour at this point. Like, they're gassed, but they're still just throwing whatever they can to the wind.
You see, both look fucked. Both are like glossy eyes. Omega is punching himself in the face to try and wake himself up. And this time uses the turnbuckle, like holding himself up to get Okada in the electric chair position. But this gets countered with a tombstone attempt from Okada, which Omega counters into the bastard driver. 1-2. And Okada kicks out.
He then looks like he was looking at Ibushi as well, because Ibushi is ringside for him, and you could hear Ibushi like, Kenny, come on, do it, Kenny. So then, if that wasn't enough, he's like, all right, Ibushi, you're watching. How about I hit your other move as well?
So he goes up top, goes for the Phoenix Splash, but Okada moves out the way. There's a drop kick to the back of the head from Okada. The tombstone gets blocked again, and Omega comes flying in with a V-trigger. And this one's in the middle of the ring, and Okada just essentially takes a back bump for it, like he's been knocked out. Like head flies back, boof. And then there are more V-triggers. He sets up for a third V-trigger. This time, Okada catches it and drop kicks Kenny. Goes for the tombstone once again, but can't pick him up. So he decides to deliver yet another drop kick. And now sets up Kenny. Goes to the Rainmaker, hits it, but Okada just has no strength, and both just collapse in the middle of the ring as Red Shoes starts to count.
Yeah, they definitely tease like both guys can't hit their own moves properly right now, so they're both just like gassing each other. But it's a great moment where they finally are like both getting up, and the crowd, the crescendo starts to get louder and louder, and the clapping, and then there's like just the weakest like punches, slaps, chops attempts, and then finally it starts to get the strikes get a little bit, and they start to wake up and Super Saiyan mode. Kenny, you know, they always say Tokyo Dome Kenny, New Japan Kenny. The demon starts to wake up. He looks over and sees his handsome friend Kota Ibushi yelling, "Come on, Kenny, do it!" And he starts to fire up. Okada his hair starts to get wild. He pushes his hair up and he starts to become like Trunks, Super Saiyan Okada. This is now, like, oh my God, this is getting down to it.
It's like shout, isn't it? It's like a little bit louder now, a little bit louder now, as they're like these weak strikes they're on their knees, and then they're both like, okay, let's go. The chops get louder, the elbows get louder. We get headbutts in there from Okada. Both are delivering knees here, and then Omega picks up Okada, who just comes right at him with a Rainmaker, maintains wrist control, delivers another Rainmaker, picks him up once more, goes for one more, but this time Kenny ducks and switches it into a German suplex, maintains waist control. The crowd are going crazy. And then Okada stand and switches, delivering a huge German of his own, holds onto the waist. And then as he's holding onto the waist with both arms, drops one of his arms to grab the wrist of Omega, seamlessly transitioning to the Rainmaker, which once again, Kenny ducks and turns it into another German suplex. And this time, Kenny is holding on, and Okada is fighting off. He knows Kenny's going for that other German. So Kenny changes and hits a spike Poison Rana in the middle of the ring.
There we go. Poison Rana, baby. Look at that move. What a move here. What, there's only the one-winged angel that's a better move than the Poison Rana, really.
Kenny then charges at Okada, who somehow manages to deliver a drop kick and has one more Rainmaker attempt. But somehow from this Rainmaker, Kenny just picks him right onto his shoulders and drops him in maybe the quickest, craziest one-winged angel I've ever seen.
It's like one swoop motion. He does like a snap.
It's from like the wrist control of Okada, like hoists him up to it's stunning.
It's changing the momentum of the wrist control Rainmaker into like a snap lift up into the flipping one-winged angel. And just before that, you know, you mentioned he was using the turnbuckle to get up, but just before the final moments, he uses Red Shoes to get up. He grabs Red Shoes to lift himself off the mat as he then so he's using everything he can to possibly beat this guy. But the quickest, snappiest one-winged angel connects, and you know, no one kicks out of it.
So, but Kenny can't capitalize. He's spent as well. They're both by the ropes. They're both dragging themselves up. This moment here, it kind of reminds me of Undertaker and Brock at SummerSlam, where they both sit up and laugh at each other.
Yeah.
Because they're essentially just sat next to each other, absolutely fucked. Like, two best buddies pissed on New Year's Eve.
Lethal Weapon, right? It's me and you outside wide open.
Just like, fuck, what else do we have to do? The crowd are going nuts. They're all chanting for Omega at this point, and Omega gets the strength. And he's running the ropes, delivers a devastating V-trigger, taking his head off. The crowd crescendo even more, and he picks up Okada. One-winged angel. He hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. And in 64 minutes, 50 seconds, Kenny Omega wins the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Yes. Goodbye and good night. Damn, what a match. The story has finally come true. This is crazy. Like a broken record. It is a movie. Like it is a full-on beginning, middle, and end. I mean, this one has the 3 falls to even really do the beginning, middle, and end in it. But this is like some of the best pro wrestling you'll ever see. Full stop. Like the broken record, because this is the 4th time we're talking about a match simultaneously, like in a row. It's got to be difficult to keep my attention, but somehow they still manage to make it end some. You said this is 64 minutes, so like 4 and some change longer than that second match that they had, and somehow still managed to keep it creative, still fresh, and still mind-blowing on how they could do this, and gets me jumping out of my seat all these years later. I know who's going to come out on top, but it doesn't change the way it makes me feel and the way I react to it and everything. So yeah, this is glorious. What a match.
I think then we have the locker room clears out. We've got the Bucks embracing Kenny with Ibushi, and they've all been through their thing as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
That match has happened, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So it's like a nice moment with the 4 of them embracing, celebrating with Kenny being the champion. But hell of a match. They've got a hell of a job to do in Texas to top any of these ones. But yeah, incredible stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. 5 stars again. If we're not going like, I consider this whole series one big thing, and I would rate it quite possibly the best series in wrestling. You know, we've covered some Steamboat Flair, we've covered Stone Cold in Austin, and not knocking those in every which way someone would say those are better. I would say that's totally your opinion. Those are awesome feuds in wrestling, but watching this back today, I mean, this is it for me. Like these are the series of matches that really reignited my love for pro wrestling. And all these years later, watching them back again today, it did it again. It made me go, oh, this is the reason why we drunkenly booked those flights to Texas for All In, because we need to see this. If there's a chance I even get to see this, even if it bombs and it sucks, I still need to see it. I still need to be there and watch it happen. So this match watching back is like Titanic. It's Goodfellas. It's Godfather 2. It's long, but it is a hell of a story.
I think this is the best closing sequence of all of them. Like the final 5. I love the drama of the 60-minute draw with Okada crawling across.
Yeah.
But the final 5 minutes here where they're just both out of it, both unable to hit their finishing moves because they're so exhausted, both dragging each other up in the ropes, that snap one-winged angel out of nowhere. The crowd, in the first match and in this match, the crowd are crying. There's shots of women in the crowd just crying at what they've just seen.
Kenny!
I do think obviously there has been the thing of us watching them back to back, and this time round, I didn't make the mistake of when we did Steamboat Flair, which was watch every single match one after another. I did one on Sunday, one on Tuesday, one this morning, and one this afternoon. And I think that's the way to do it, where they're close enough to each other, where you see the patterns, you see what they're building on each match,
right.
But not so close together that you can't differentiate them. I will say for this one, I thought there was a bit of repetitiveness in the middle of one winged angel block, Rainmaker block, V-trigger, drop kick. It went back and forth maybe a cycle or two too much, and that's completely nitpicking. But I think the final stretch is absolutely incredible and probably my favorite stretch of the 4 matches.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's so many little things from one match that I'm like, but I love this bit in this one. But I love that, that's why I treat it almost like all one big kind of story together, all the matches put together. But I would totally go, if out of our rating system, 5 stars, no problem. Yeah. And some for this one. It's difficult to say which one you like the most, because if you're saying 5 stars and I am, what does this get on come to your Meltzers and your cage matches? This is the highest one, right?
So it's the highest from Meltzer. It's 7. Cage Match has it at a 9.78, which means Cage Match puts the first match first.
Right.
This match second. The draw third, and the G1 fourth, I believe.
Okay. I feel like this is like when we were ranking our Star Wars films. I feel like this is how I feel about this one, because you got the first one, that's the New Hope. The tie, that's the Empire Strikes Back. Are we counting the G1? And then
is G1 Rogue One? Is that where that fits in? Like,
I don't know. People really love Rogue One.
I love Rogue. I love Rogue One,
Yeah,
but it's like you could remove it and it would all still make sense, if that makes sense.
And then Last Jedi is this one, whereas like I don't know. I think Last Jedi doesn't get necessarily the praise that Empire gets, but
I mean Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
You hate
sorry.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, sorry, not the Last Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Honestly, all of these matches are pretty much perfect to me, and if I had to pick one, I think rewatch value, the original, like this was the original, the first one, Wrestle Kingdom, sparked the whole thing. That's not saying I'm right or wrong. I just, out of watching them back, I don't think I could just watch the first one and then go be about my day, because in my brain I'm gonna be like, I need to go watch the other ones now. That's just how I kind of am. The same with certain movies. You watch the first one, you're like, yeah, do I have to go marathon this now? Like, fuck, I think I do. So like I still think all the rematches are quite possibly more epic and legendary and longer, but I think I'm going to go with the original Wrestle Kingdom one. That was like the thing that sparked it for a whole lot of people. And watching it back yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, this one. But I don't know. Where are you with this?
I think I've got my 1 and 2 pretty solid. Okay. I would go the 60-minute draw first.
Right.
Which I didn't think I was going to say.
Yeah, I know. I feel you.
But I think that kind of has everything in it.
Except a finish.
I'd go the Wrestle Kingdom match first. Second place.
Okay.
And then it's a toss-up between the other two. I really like the G1 match because how different it is to the other ones with that time limit constraint. So I'd possibly say that one, but then I think, as I said, the last 5 minutes of the fourth match, I might prefer to everything else. So it's tough. But I definitely go, I think my favorite is the Dominion 2017 time limit draw match.
And you know what, watching it today, I think it's my second. Like they're all interchangeable because they're all fucking brilliant. Like these guys, the reason people are, oh, well, it's not Omega Okada. Like you hear that? Yeah. And someone's like, oh, did you watch that match on Sunday? Yeah. Well, it wasn't Omega Okada. Cause like, this is the fucking measuring stick now for quality.
It's the wire of
TV. Yeah. It's like, well,
that's cool, but have you seen the wire?
It's like, this is the measuring stick of like a good match. And Okada Omega will go down as some of the two best to ever fucking do it. And in Texas, Dallas, Okada's kicking out of that one-winged angel, and the crowd are gonna fucking lose it.
Well, he can't hit it properly because of the diverticulitis, right?
That's right. Yes. Watching these back is like a breeze to me. They're like some of the longest matches, but they are so fucking good. So yeah, Godfather Part 2, Goodfellas, Wolf of Wall Street. This is the best wrestling for me, and this was so much fun to just go back and rewatch it and relive it and everything. So yeah. Wow. We
did throw up a couple of feedback threads, both on the Patreon and the Facebook, and I can see that we have some feedback, and I'm going to go to our Facebook group first because I think this might be a first time, long time.
First time, long time. Wow.
This is Christine, who says, I discovered New Japan Pro Wrestling during this time, and Bullet Club, along with Kenny, became my favorite, even more since he is from my hometown. Okada and Omega seem to save their ultimate best when they faced each other. My favorite match out of the 4 is the 2 out of 3 falls at Dominion 2018, of course, due to Kenny finally winning the title. The crowd was on fire, and getting up at 2 a.m. for the show made it all worthwhile. Pete Kenny and showed how great he is and textbook storytelling. I do believe the best technical match and one I would recommend is their 60-minute draw from their 2017 match from Dominion. That crazy backdrop outside to Kenny, to all the near falls and counters to each of their finishers. It has been 7 years since this quartet of matches, and I know the fight at All In has a high bar to reach. Knowing how Okada and Omega are when they face each other, it will be a banger, and I will be cheering Kenny on in the peg.
Oh, love to hear that. Thank you, Christine, for writing all the way from Winnipeg. I know they'll be chanting. That's awesome. I recently, one of my friends' partners revealed to me their love for Kenny. They saw I was wearing a shirt and they were like, "Oh, I love Kenny too." And then I realized it's because they're also from Winnipeg, and just a connection there.
You idiot.
Fan. Yeah, from Winnipeg. We go to Jesse from the 6, who writes in on our Patreon. After I watched Omega Okada 1v, is that 4? Is that right? Yeah,
4.
I actually rewatched it the very next day. This is the only time I've ever done this. At the time, I concluded it was the greatest match I'd ever seen, having stubbornly clung on to the Austin Brett submission match for 20 years. What strikes me as truly extraordinary about this feud is not so much the incredible high quality of the matches, but their sequence. Number 1, Okada, the undeniable king of New Japan, successfully defends his crown at Wrestle Kingdom. 2, Omega ups his game and battles Omega to a draw. 3, both wrestlers have to alter their style to fit 30 minutes match, and Omega finally wins. 4, a 4th match and final match, leaving nothing to chance. 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit, and Omega wins. I doubt Gato at all. I had this match mapped out from the beginning, but if you were to do so, you couldn't plan it any better. Take care. I actually thank you, Jesse, so much. And I actually think it's so great that he said, like, he clung, like, you know, when you have that match in your brain, like, nah, Bret Austin, best match ever, and they'll be fucking topped ever. And then you watch them and you're like, fuck, was that the one? I think that might have been the one. So I totally understand where you're coming from that, Jesse. Appreciate, as always. Love you, brother.
And then we go to Jake from the Windy City. Fellas, I'm so excited for this set of reviews. This rivalry has to go down as the most influential series of matches in the last 20 years of professional wrestling. Hands down. You can make sure the argument that without this rivalry, and especially the WrestleKingdom 11 match that set the benchmark for these two guys, there would be no Jericho Omega match. And thus, there would be no All Elite Wrestling and no New Japan expansion into Europe and North America. I know many like all 4 of these matches and the stories each of them have told, but for me, the best has to be 60-minute Broadway, because I will never forget staying up for that one. Live at 4:30 in the morning was the most fun I've had watching wrestling, and I never expected it to be a time limit draw. Okada getting a foot on the rope after the One-Winged Angel, and Omega collapsing due to exhaustion, thus unintentionally dodging a Rainmaker, were surreal moments. I also remember very well listening to The Law later that evening and hearing John Pollock and Dan Lavransky marking out like kids in a candy store running down this match. They knew they saw a legendary feud at its peak right there. That's how incredible this match laid out to be. The next year, culminating with Kenny finally winning the IWGP belt, is also up there with one of the emotional moments I've seen as a fan. So obviously, I'm looking forward and curious to see how this match will be presented in an AEW ring and how their endurance and stamina can hold up after 6 years apart. Cheers, lads. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jake. Yeah, very appreciate all the feedback, and all of you out there listening. Appreciate you listening to us, whether it's on the Patreon, of course, poisonrana.ca for everything else that we do. We have tons of other shows. If you're listening to this, we're going to match 5, which means we'll have to watch it, review it, and add it on to this podcast eventually. And
it'll be our Zero Dark 30, just the tag on. Like we've done the review. Oh wait, there's another match. Let's add this bit on at the end.
Hopefully we're talking about it in high spirits and praising how well. And I have a feeling these two will happen to deliver, as some of our comments there, like the magic between these two is unmatched as their best rivals and opponents in the world of wrestling. And it makes magic entertainment for us. So thank you so much for listening. We can't do this without our listeners. As always, the support, it goes such a long way. And we'll be at All In. Follow the socials if you haven't, at Poison Rana Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you very soon, but appreciate you. And shout out Kenny, shout out Okada, the two to ever fucking best to ever fucking do it. All All
Yeah, I
right.
just hope Kenny's okay for the match. He looked pretty rough last time we saw him.
Too many jellies, too many jelly donuts out there. Well, that is it. That is all. Take care. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Ahoy!
Poison Rana.